Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Saturday, the 21st of February, 2015. This is episode 1163. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you can grow and protect your wealth, and best of all, it's free. For a limited time, Twit viewers can qualify for up to $10,000 on any new account. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/techguy. And by Hipchat. Collaborate, save time, and be more productive with your teams. Hipchat is IM, video chat, plus file, code, and screen sharing all in one place. Invite your team members and get a free 30-day trial of the full version of Hipchat at hipchat.com/techguy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, all that jazz. You know, the stuff with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my number if you'd like to call with a question, a comment, a suggestion. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can call still. Just use Skype out. Our website, by the way, with all this information and more, including a link to our great chat room, is techguylabs.com. And if you'd make a note of that, that'd be great, because then, you know, when you hear me talking about something, you don't have to write it down, because we've got people doing that. James DeRuvo's scribbling everything I say. Well, he doesn't scribble. He's typing it and putting it in the webpage. And then after the show, my staffer, Josh Windish here at the Brick House Studios, he takes it. He adds audio. He adds video. We really try to make it a useful compendium of everything we talk about on the show, and your comments add to it. Make it even more valuable. If you say, wait a minute, there's a better idea, or Leo's wrong, that's fine. Put it in the comments. And you know what? This is all free. There's no sign up. I know other shows require you to pay money and subscribe. No. Just go. Yeah, I don't want your email address. What am I going to do with that? techguylabs.com. But you may not need it right now, but it's good to have open 24/7. I think we got to talk about Superfish, which is not a new food item, but in fact, something called a man-in-the-middle attack. Lenovo, which, you know, I have been recommending Lenovo computers for some time now. They bought the IBM ThinkPad line and continue to make ThinkPads along with other computers. We're not sure which of Lenovo's computers they put Superfish on. It seems to be mostly the consumer ones, not the business ones. However, this is such a breach of trust on the part of Lenovo that I am going to find it extremely hard to recommend a Lenovo laptop or computer ever again. Let me explain what they did and why it's so heinous. You know, we've talked about this before, that the people who make PCs these days are pushed for profits. And it's our fault because we pushed them on price. We wanted price low. And boy, when you get a PC nowadays, you can get a PC for $200. That barely covers the cost of goods. So the way they make money is by putting trialware on there, adware on there, anything, it feels like you're getting, it's a service, like, oh, that's nice. They put a trial version of the McAfee antivirus. Isn't that nice? But really, McAfee's paying them for that. And in some cases, paying them again and again. If you subscribe to McAfee every year, you renew, you get the company gets a little bit of money. So this is basically, at this point, I think, where most PC companies, at least at the low end, are making their money. Not Apple. In fact, one of the reasons an Apple computer costs so much is they're not doing that. They got plenty of margin, about 40%, 50% margin in all of their hardware. Plenty of money. They charge 40 or 50% more. That should give you an idea of what's going on here. These PC Windows machines are so cheap, but they're making it up on the other side. So there's a lot of pressure on companies like Lenovo to figure out ways to make their least expensive laptops profitable. But Lenovo made a big mistake. And I'm not even sure I want to call it a mistake. They did something so wrong, that I don't know if we'll ever be able to get over it. They put a product on there. I guess to understand what they did, the product was called Superfish. To explain what happened, you need to understand what a man-in-the-middle attack is. This is something bad guys use, hackers use. They become a third party in a conversation you're having with a website. It's like wiretapping your conversation. And there are all sorts of sneaky ways to do this. But Superfish uses the sneakiest. They are interrupting secure conversations. When you're using your bank, your credit card, when you're buying something online, it's not just you and Amazon or you and the bank. It's you, Superfish, and the bank. And the reason they're doing this is so that they can replace the ads on websites you visit with their own ads, making money for Superfish and Lenovo in the process. All seems a little shady, doesn't it? It's also a massive security hole, and it's basically a hacker thing to do. We've seen companies do this before. Sony, very famously, to protect their game software, was putting rootkits on people's PCs and leaving them there. These are nasty hacker tools, the worst. A man-in-the-middle attack is about as bad as it gets. It means they can see your secure traffic, and they're modifying the traffic in between you and the site you're going to insert ads. Now, they were caught. In fact, they were caught by a user who posted on the Lenovo forums in September. Lenovo, he said, why are you adding adware to your Y50 laptop that hijacks search results on any browser? They do worse than that. They intercept secure traffic. Now, Lenovo got caught, and Lenovo has apologized. Oh, we made a terrible mistake. They are now offering a tool to remove it. If you have a Lenovo laptop, you should absolutely download and use this tool. Or, and at this point, you've heard me say this before, once you get malware, and this is malware, this is not adware, this is malware. Once you have malware on your computer, there's no way of knowing how compromised you've been, and so the best thing to do is to install from a known good source, which would not be the disks Lenovo gave you or the recovery disks you made on your laptop, but a clean version of Windows. And I think consumers have the right to go to Lenovo and say, I want a version of Windows from Microsoft for my laptop, and you need to send that to me for free because you screwed up. They got caught, and that's when they stopped doing it. I do not buy that, oh, we made a mistake. Yeah, the mistake was they got caught. I cannot tell you how horrific this is. I cannot express this more dramatically than that they are intercepting your secure traffic to everywhere you go on the web. And we don't know what they're doing with it. They say, oh, well, we're just inserting ads. But we don't know what they're doing with it. Not to mention that once you're compromised in this fashion, there's no guarantee that other bad actors who may have known about this since it was publicized in September or earlier have not taken advantage of it. A man-in-the-middle attack is a hacker attack. It is not adware, it is malware. And for a PC manufacturer to put malware on your computer without notification is criminal. Lenovo's a Chinese company. I doubt they'll ever get prosecuted. But you know what we should do as consumers is never again buy a Lenovo computer. Put these guys out of business. They do not deserve to be in business. And it really hurts me because I have recommended Lenovo computers for years. They're good computers. We don't know which versions of Lenovo's are affected. That's part of the problem. We know the Y50 was infected. I think it's the Yogas. I think it's the less expensive consumer brands. A Lenovo you bought at the Microsoft store? Probably not. But the problem is it takes some digging to figure it out. It's not obvious. Lenovo has posted on the support page a tool that will remove it, but do you trust them? I see no reason to trust them. They're a Chinese company. They're they're operating out of China. They don't have the same restraints that an American company does. I was very concerned when IBM sold the ThinkPad brand to them. I thought that that was not a really great thing to do. And then I was encouraged by the fact that Lenovo seemed to honor the brand and continue to make great ThinkPads very much in the tradition of IBM until this. At this point, there's plenty of other good choices. There's no reason to buy Lenovo. Shame on you, Lenovo. Criminal. We'll put that list from Lenovo support up, but you know, they know exactly what this software is when they used it. There's no, like, oh, we didn't realize. It's not. And it's really the height of arrogance and lies to say Superfish vulnerability, potential impact, man-in-the-middle attack. Yeah, you did it. Yeah, you did it. They say ThinkPad, ThinkCenter, Lenovo Desktop, ThinkStation, ThinkServer, System X not impacted. So what? This company should be out of business. This company should not be allowed to manufacture and sell computers. Notice that somebody discovered it September 2014. They said, oh, that's when we started. I don't buy it. And they stopped February 2015. Oh, that's right now when it became a story. User feedback was not positive. And we responded quickly and decisively 5 months after it was discovered. Is that quick? I don't care if they say we're not going to do it again. I don't care. There are plenty of companies you can choose from that sell computers. There's no reason in the world to buy a Lenovo computer ever again. And man, if I had bought a Lenovo computer, I would be so angry. And the reason that you have to take this seriously is you want to send a strong message to other computer manufacturers who are incented to do this not to. It will cost you your business. Superfish intercepts HTTP traffic using a self-signed root certificate. In other words, breaking all SSL traffic. If you've been using a Lenovo laptop, one of these affected laptops, and we don't know, just because Lenovo says these aren't, we don't know that's true. I mean, I guess we can, with analysis, figure it out. Breaking secure traffic for adware. Protect yourself. Come on. This bothers me too. May be affected. What do you mean no yoga had been infected? Even Lenovo says these yogas were affected. What do you mean? Read the... This is Lenovo talking. This is not somebody else. Appalling. Do not buy Lenovo ever again. Period. I mean, I don't think there's any question. Company does that. I stopped buying Sony computers. By the way, you know, Sony's not in the computer business anymore. Dell, I buy Dell. If I found out Dell was doing this, I would stop buying Dell. To my knowledge, they're not. Shocking. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. It's shocking when a company does something like that. They basically, just to be very clear, what Lenovo did broke. If you're using one of the affected Lenovo laptops, and what we have a list from Lenovo, doesn't mean it's complete because you can't trust them, but it breaks all secure transactions, all of them. You thought you were talking to your bank safely, you weren't. You thought you were talking to Amazon safely, you weren't. All of them. You cannot get worse than this. It's very sad to see this happen. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number. 888-827-5536. Heather Hamann is here. She is going to help us find wonderful callers for the show.
Yes, and we've got Tom in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hello, Tom in Charlotte, North Carolina. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo, how are you today?
I'm well.
Good. The way to stop data from being breached to begin with is a way that I can't live with, and I know you can't, would be to just shut the internet down and go back to...
Let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
And you know what? While you're at it, let's get rid of the telephone service. We shouldn't. And electricity, that's a problem. People get electrocuted every year. We need to get rid of electricity, period, and go back to the Stone Age. Wait a minute, fire. Can you imagine a worse technology? Let's stop all the insanity. No more fire.
Why wasn't every computer that goes online encrypted from day one? That we would have stopped.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. But that's what's so pernicious about what Lenovo did. Those were encrypted conversations, and Lenovo put stuff on their computer so that you were no longer able to have an encrypted conversation without Lenovo watching everything you're doing. That's the Chinese government, ladies and gentlemen. If anybody buys a Lenovo computer after this, I wash my hands of it.
My mother and I both have iPhone 6 Pluses. And she has a ringtone that she used on her iPhone 5 that she wants to move over to her 6 Plus.
So ringtones on Apple computers, or Apple phones, I should say, are really just regular, bits of audio with a special extension. That's pretty much it.
Right.
So
now,
if you have
in this particular case,
yeah,
she, a representative at our local Apple store, showed her a technique using her MacBook Air.
Yeah, because you just got to get the file. If you look at iTunes has a ringtone section. When you back up your iPhone to iTunes, it should back up the ringtones. Unfortunately, iOS 8 does things a little bit differently, and so does... now, if you updated iOS 8 to the latest version, you should be all right. iOS 8.1 deleted ringtones. So make sure she's got, or both of you have the latest version of, I guess it was 8.1.1. This was a bug, and they fixed it in 8.1.2.
Because it lost her ringtone right from out of the box, but she's trying to get it back. We don't know. It's on GarageBand on her, her MacBook.
Oh, good. So you got it.
Now for her, it's a matter of getting it from GarageBand to her phone.
You just move it, just import it into iTunes. And iTunes will see it as a ringtone.
Okay.
And put it in the ringtone section, and it should then synchronize if you have 8.1.2. But make sure you upgrade first, and then you should be okay.
Does she need to have her cable hooked up to the phone hooked up to her?
No, you could do it. You could sync over Wi-Fi.
Oh, you can't? Okay. Now, I have a ringtone that I want to use. It's an organ, a little organ number. Dun
dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun. That would be a good ringtone. Da 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 da.
It's something like that, but a little bit not exactly that. But yes, it is.
Da 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 da.
Where do I begin with that?
They changed the methodology for making ringtones. There are a lot of web pages. If you Google, iPhone ringtone, they'll show you how you can do it with a few ridiculously silly steps in iTunes that really primarily involves editing, creating an creating an AAC version of the thing, a second one, a duplicate, editing it. So when you create it, you can actually select which part gets duplicated, duplicate the selected part, and then rename the extension. But that seems to not work anymore. You have to go through an extra step. And let me see if I can I want to find an article that applies to 8.1.2, the latest version of iOS, and the latest version iTunes 12 point whatever, because it is different. It's like slightly different. Somebody sent me a link. You don't want to. The point being, you don't want to buy ringtones, frankly, on any phone, and the phone company doesn't want you to know that because they make billions. It's literally a multi-billion-dollar business in selling ringtones. Often the song you already own that you bought. Oops, I did it again. I want a ringtone out of that. Well, you own it. You should be able to just modify the song and make it a ringtone. In fact, you can, but they don't want you to know that. And so they make it complicated and obscure, and they do not document it. But both Android and iOS, and I presume on Windows Phone too, it's very easy to make anything that you have, any audio you have, into a ringtone if you know what to do. On Android, there's RingDroid. There are apps that will do it very simply for you. I use RingDroid on Android. On iOS, you have iTunes, and it should be fairly simple. But it's many steps, which I'm not going to go through. It's what I just described is the essence of it, but you've got to do it just right. And once you do it, it'll be in a ringtone section of your iTunes. From then on, it should sync to any new phone. It's, they kind of, I don't want to ascribe malintent to Apple. It was a bug, I think, in 8.1.1, and they fixed it immediately in 8.1.2. But AT&T and Verizon were cheering because they make a lot of money selling you. And they don't even just sell you a flat rate like here, $1.50. Here's the ringtone. At least the last time I checked, it was good for 3 months. And then you have to, it's a subscription. Recording industry supports this, of course. They love this. Oh, we can sell this song over and over and over again. So there is an OS X app. I didn't know this, called Ringtones. Thank you, Sybil. That might make it a little bit easier. I mean, it's not hard to do, and it's certainly something you can do with what you've already got. But it's a few steps. It's more than half a dozen steps, which is ridiculous. I will try. Let me find a up-to-date description in iTunes of how to do this, because there are a lot that are not up-to-date. And for a while, I thought you couldn't do it anymore. I was a little peeved. Audacity will help you do it, but you don't need anything extra. You should be able just to do it with iTunes. The key is really merely renaming the extension. What is it? I can't remember. The AAC, I can't remember it is. M4R, I think it is. M4R. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, I don't know. Who knows if it's so somebody's saying, well, now does that mean all hardware from China is suspect? Everything you use is made in China. I think I'm willing to accept the benign interpretation that I started with, which is that PC manufacturers are desperate to find a way to make money on these really low-cost PCs. And there's very little profit in the hardware, so they make money by adding trialware on. And I think this was a misguided attempt by Lenovo. They're still lying, by the way. They're not completely honest. They say in their explanation, it's so you could, because one of the things Superfish does is allow you to search. By the way, Superfish is an Israeli company that has headquarters in Palo Alto. And what they claim, if you go to superfish.com, is that their business is helping you search for images. But in fact, that's not, as far as I know, what Lenovo was doing with that. Lenovo was replacing ads. So when you go to a website, they were inserting, and this is not the first time we've seen this happen, and it's always malicious in a sense, inserting ads onto websites, and Lenovo makes the money from that additional ad. Your computer should not be doing that. To me, that's the height of wrong, to modify a website on the fly to show you an ad that's actually not on the website. Yeah. Well, I feel like what Lenovo was doing was not. I don't want to. We don't know. You could expand it to say, oh, this is the Chinese government and it's a spy mission, and it's possible. Certainly, we've been doing it. The NSA's been doing it, but it's more reasonable to assume it's some simple profit motive. They wanted to put ads in there. When you look at those ads, Lenovo gets paid, and that's the most simple and reasonable, but it is somewhat of a charitable explanation, since it could be a lot worse. But everything you buy, every phone you buy, every computer you buy, including all your Apple computers, they're all made in China. So if the Chinese government wished to subvert American hardware, it'd be trivial. But I don't want to go that far. I think it's simply they were trying to make more money on their low-cost laptops by inserting ads. But it's shocking. It's shocking. Well, can you trust them, PS Jobs? It would be different if there weren't many other companies making good computers. I think Lenovo needs to be shunned, absolutely, forever. Yeah, the Mac Pro's made in Texas with parts made in China. It's assembled in Texas with parts made in China. So, for instance, we know that the NSA had, or we think it's the NSA, had firmware for all the major hard drive manufacturers, and they could insert code into the hard drive circuitry. So they were intercepting hard drives on the way, another man in the middle, intercepting hard drives on the way to the buyer, and modifying the firmware code to put spyware in it, and then passing it and then letting it go on. And we know they were doing that from the Snowden revelations of last week, and that they had every firmware compromised. And that's exactly the kind of thing the Chinese could be doing back to us easily. You know, it's not, the truth is, I think governmental spying, we might as well just go, well, they got it. What are you going to do? But what I don't want is Lenovo compromising my security for advertising. It's shocking. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, Scott Wilkinson, the home theater guy. Did you have a nice Valentine's Day, Scotty?
Oh, very nice. Yes.
Good.
My wife and I went for a nice little weekend away. We actually went sailing on a tall ship.
What? Where'd you do that?
Up in Oxnard, actually.
Oh, well, Oxnard's well known for its tall ships. Not.
No, this was a tall ship that had been that goes up and down the coast of California.
Oh, what fun!
To educate people and take them out on little tours, and we sang sea shanties. And
what do you do with a drunken sailor?
Yes, exactly.
How fun!
It turns out this particular replica of a 17th, 18th century tall ship was actually used in Pirates of the Caribbean. It was the Interceptor.
Oh, neat.
Which Jack Sparrow and his cohort steal there and go after the Black Pearl. Anyway, it was really fun.
I know you use, for your test of TVs, Master and Commander, a tall ship, and the first scenes are very, very dark. You should have shot your own test video on your tall ship.
You know, I should have. That would have been great.
Wouldn't that be funny?
We couldn't go below decks because the crew actually lives on the ship.
Holy cow! Are they like cadets or something?
They're youngsters, yeah.
Yeah. No, there are a number of programs like this, which I think are really great, where the kids learn a lot of life skills by piloting a sailing ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Scott joins us each week, though, not to talk about sailing ships.
No.
Really, we talk about whatever we want, but nominally he joins us to talk about home theater.
Yes.
He's the editor-in-chief at the avsforum.com, and he hosts the great Home Theater Geeks podcast, if I do say so myself, on my podcast network. I'm a little biased. twit.tv/HTG.
I'm always happy to be there for sure. Hey, I got a great email from someone in Scotland, a guy named Nick Allain, who just moved his company into a different building, and he wants to do movie nights in this building.
Oh, fun.
And he also wants to watch rocket launch viewing. He wants to hold rocket launch viewing parties because his company makes and operates satellites.
Oh, neat.
So I think that's kind of cool. The problem is he's got a fairly big room, and he wants like a 150-inch screen, and he's got a budget of, he says, 3,000 British pounds, which is about $4,600 as of today. And he wants a 150-inch screen. He's got a pretty big room, but the problem is the back of the room is full of windows. And he says, you know, if I put in a projection system, it's going to get washed out. Can't do daytime viewing. And if I put up a 60-inch TV, it's going to look just like a postage stamp on that big wall that I've got. So my suggestion is...
What about curtains?
Exactly.
That would be my suggestion.
That's my first suggestion, too, is to get blackout shades, not just curtains. I mean, you could do it with big, thick curtains, but blackout shades or some sort of fixed, custom made for these windows inserts, you know, polyfoam or some sort foam core, something that actually you can insert into the window frame and totally block out the light. I think that's the best idea right there. And then you can use just about anything. He's got a budget of about $4,600, and I did some quick pricing out here. I'd recommend the Epson 5030 UB projector. Very nice, bright projector, great blacks, about $2,300. Elite Screen is my sort of one of my go-to screen companies for value-oriented budget sort of screens, 150-inch with what's called Cinegray 5D screen material.
That's important. I'm tempted. I was always tempted with a projector. Oh, I got a white wall. I just showed up against the wall.
No.
Well, I mean, you can, but what's the difference between getting a good screen and just putting it on a flat white wall?
Well, the flat white wall has a number of problems. One is you don't really know whether it's truly a neutral white or it might be slightly cream colored or something. My biggest issue with that is that very few walls have the really smooth texture that you need with a screen. You know, it's got some sort of, either the paint isn't perfectly uniform or the wall material behind the paint isn't exactly uniform. It's just not going to give you as good a picture as a true projection screen. So, you know,
you can also buy, and we talked about this when I was doing the same thing. I ended up buying a screen, and screens from monoprice.com are not very expensive. They're surprisingly affordable.
Yeah.
But and those are good, right? I mean, I found it was good. But you can also buy paint. If you want to make it simple, you can paint the wall. It's expensive paint, but they make screen paint. Don't you have to prime it and then second coat?
Yeah, you kind of have to do a couple of layers and priming and so on. The company that's best known for that is called Screen Goo.
Yeah. And it's easy to be fooled because it looks like you're getting a nice big can for $50, but look closely and it's 8 ounces. It's like, you could do a corner. So it's expensive. It'll be less, I guess, than a screen.
Oh, sure.
Maybe not. The point is really that you don't have a screen that goes up and down. You could just move the furniture out of the way.
Looks like he needs a fixed screen. He said a fixed screen.
Okay.
So, you know, painting the wall would be fine, unless, as is often the case, like I'm imagining perhaps in Scotland, they have this beautiful building, but it's got brick walls.
Oh, then you do need a screen, yeah.
Then you really need a screen. Yeah. If you've got a brick wall, if you have anything other than drywall.
Don't paint a brick wall white and expect it to look good.
No. That's the ultimate in bad texture, yeah. Or plaster. Even plaster is going to have ridges and little bumps.
It's not flat. Drywall's flat.
Not flat.
Yeah.
Drywall is flat. You could get away with that. Certainly with the Screen Goo, you could get away with
because it's
painting
thick,
that wall.
Right? It fills in little gaps and holes.
Exactly. Well, and that's also the case of the primer. You do put a couple of coats on there, and the first coat, I think, is meant to fill in any problems with texture. And
then you use a roller, not a paintbrush, because you don't want you don't want texture.
You don't want streak marks, right?
You want it smooth as possible. So that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, get the Pioneer Andrew Jones designed speaker system for $550.
Somebody in the chat room says he can't believe how good it sounds. He just bought one on your recommendation. He says, for the
really?
price,
the Pioneer speakers?
Yeah, the Andrew Jones version. He called it the Alex Jones version. That's a different one. The Andrew Jones version, he said really, he was amazed how good they sounded for the price.
Oh, it's
because it's just a few $100 for a 5.1 surround.
A 5.1 system for $550.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then just about any receiver you want. Now, I priced it out with the Elite Screen Cinegray 5D 150-inch on their simple, easy frame, fixed frame, which is about $1,500. The Epson's about $2,300. The speaker system's about $550. That brings you up to about $4,300. Only leaves you $300 for an AVR. Not quite enough, in my opinion. You need to spend at least $500 on an AVR.
What brand do you like?
And AVRs, I like Denon very much. Pioneers are fine. Yamahas are great. I'd say my favorites at this point are probably Denon and Yamaha. And both of those companies make AVRs in the $500 range.
What about
great.
Onkyo?
Onkyo, I have recommended often, and I've just heard too many problems with the HDMI board. Now, it's not going to be everybody's not going to have this problem. You have an Onkyo, and you haven't had this problem.
No, I've been very happy with it, but I bought it 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They have had some problems, I'm afraid.
All right. Scott Wilkinson, avsforum.com, and don't forget the Home Theater Geeks podcast, twit.tv/HTG. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. My Onkyo plays FLAC, just so you know.
Very good.
High-res, too. You know, I got from FiO, I got a $100 high-res music player. It's like an iPod for $100.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a review of it in a couple of weeks. I mean, instead of getting the $400 Pono player, get this and 128 gig because it takes micro SD cards for memory.
Right. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Wow.
It's using, I think it's using a TI, which would mean Burr Brown DAC.
Right.
So that's a good DAC.
Yep.
I've read some reviews that said the amp wasn't great, but you could always drive an amp.
Always drive a separate amp, no problem.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people
with
headphones amps are happier, anyway.
Didn't you also get a Pono? Didn't you
I do.
kick into that Kickstarter?
I did.
Have you done a side-by-side of those?
I haven't. I can't tell the difference. You know what? I can't tell the difference. I realize.
Those of us of a certain age.
I realize I'm too old. I'm almost 60. I can't tell the difference.
I've been reading a number of reviews. David Pogue, for example.
I know Pogue, but Pogue, if the headline was different from the body.
Oh, really?
It's a little deceptive.
Oh, that's too bad.
And same thing with Ars Technica. The Ars Technica was like, don't buy this. It's what do they call it? Smoke and mirrors or something. And then David Pogue says the Emperor has new clothes. Pogue, but what Pogue did is he had all kinds of people listen side by side with an iPhone and a Pono player, and they couldn't tell the difference in blind tests. Right. I don't know if that's really. I mean. He makes a good point, which is probably most people can't tell the difference. But he said there's no difference between a high-res FLAC recording and a AAC recording, lossy compressed recording. And I beg to differ. If you know what to look for, you can always tell the difference between a lossy compression, even at a high bit rate.
Well, even at a high bit rate, it becomes much more difficult.
And maybe somebody like me can't tell, but at the very least, get uncompressed music. Get something that will play FLAC or Apple lossless.
Totally agree.
At the very least.
I totally agree. And Tidal, Tidal, this new relatively
quality,
new streaming service is uncompressed CD quality streaming.
Yeah, I like Tidal.
And I think it's good. I think it's really good. The
problem with mostly I listen to Tidal on Sonos, and I don't think those speakers are good enough to really know the difference.
It may very well be. Yeah, exactly.
It's all, there's a little snake oil, I guess, in all of it. But I wouldn't rush to say, well, what I would say is don't spend $400 on the Pono player unless you know you can tell the difference. That's for sure. Right. But I don't see any problem with spending $7 or $8 more. It's not even that much for a high-res, uncompressed audio instead of buying the CD, which is uncompressed but lower res. I don't see any reason to. So it's $18 for most of these high-res CDs instead of, what is a CD these days, 15, 12?
Oh, if that. Depends on the CD.
I guess some of them are cheaper, but.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose you could spend $12, $15 pretty easily. So if you spend 18, that's not that much difference. Yeah.
Big deal.
And you might really hear hear some difference.
It always seems to me, wouldn't you prefer, if given the choice, even if you couldn't hear the difference between compressed audio or even CD audio and the master, wouldn't you want the access to the master?
Sure, absolutely.
I would want access to the master.
Yep.
Why get something downsampled?
No, I totally agree with that.
If it's $3 more for the master, why not get the master?
Of course, it really is you get the benefit mostly if you have the equipment that can reproduce.
That's right. If you're listening on your iPhone.
Yeah, on the little buds, the
right.
little buds that they give you.
I would point out, David did this test. I would point out that we've also seen tests between iPhone pictures and Canon DSLR pictures, and people preferred the iPhone. The fact that somebody prefers something is not an indicator that it's better.
Right.
All right, do you want to stick around for the top of the hour? I just used up your whole break.
Totally fine.
All right,
no problem.
Thanks. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, I'd love to hear from you. 8888 Ask Leo. 888-827-5536. Let's go back to the phones. And Claire on the line from Fallbrook, California. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Leo. I'm so glad to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you.
So, you're talking about the Chinese government. Well, I have a problem with the Chinese government, too.
Oh, yeah? What's your problem?
Ask them to be forcing Lenovo to put that in.
Well, it's completely possible that Lenovo is doing the beckoning of the Chinese government. I don't think so. I think they're doing what a lot of PC manufacturers do, which is try to make extra money because they're not making much money on the hardware. And I think that that's sufficient to explain their behavior. I should point out every single computer, phone, any consumer electronics you buy these days, all of them are manufactured in China. So if the Chinese government wanted to interdict and put spyware in our hardware, they could easily do so. And you know what? We know that the American government does that as well. So governmental spying is one thing. I almost feel like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's another thing for them to intercept our banking traffic in order to put ads on the website. I find that really repulsive. Really repulsive. Yeah. But the problem is, if what you're worried about is the Chinese government, I don't know what you're going to do. If you're worried about the American government, I don't know what you're going to do. We know the NSA intercepts hard drives. They have modified software for all hard drives. They can change the circuitry in such a way that it's completely undetectable, and the hard drive is then gathering information on its user. And we know they do that. We hope they don't do it against American citizens, but I think we know they capture our phone traffic. They've admitted to that. So I don't know if there's any guarantee they're not. And so I feel like it's almost impossible to stop governmental interference. These guys have magical powers, in effect. What are you going to do except get off the internet and not use a computer?
Right.
And that's what Osama bin Laden did, by the way. Didn't help him. So I don't know. So what can I do for you?
Well, I just started a new job in January.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I am managing designers who design for giftware and home furnishings for a wonderful company here in the U.S.
Nice.
Some of my designers are here in the U.S., some are in China.
Yep.
And I just thought I'd be able to find a cloud that would host our designs that we could share. You're laughing. We're not a huge company.
Wait a minute. There's no cloud service that works in China as well as the U.S.?
I haven't. My IT here and there hasn't been able to find anything.
Wow. Now, remember, the Chinese government does block a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's the problem. They prohibit, like Dropbox, Google, and apparently a bunch of others. And, we do need a fair amount of memory for it. So
here's what I would take a look at. Ask your guys to take a look at a cloud that you host. And the Chinese designers would access it over the internet using HTTPS so that it would be secure, unless they're using Lenovo laptops, but it would be secure. I don't think the Chinese government can or will block web traffic, either HTTP or HTTPS, because that would basically take them off the internet. So they're blocking specific things like, Dropbox. But for them to block HTTP downloads would be almost impossible or impractical. So there's a product, and just have your IT guys look into it. There's a product I use called the Transformer. You host it. It's your hard drive. I use them here and at home. I have one Transformer here, one at home. It's made by the Drobo folks. And what these have their own hard drives. You can share publicly over the internet, so your Chinese designers can access it. They can put files on it, but it's not in the cloud exactly. It's in your premises, which I think is better. It's fully encrypted. So it's encrypted between you and your designers. It's encrypted between you and your between your computers in it. It does automatic backup, automatic syncing. It does pretty much. Their goal was to design a Dropbox that you host, and I think that's a really clever idea. It's I think it's called the transporter. I think I call it the transformer. It's a transporter, and I believe it's at filetransporter.com. Let me just check real quickly. They don't have transporter, but I think they have filetransporter.com. And if you go there, it's not very expensive. The way it works is you buy a $99 interface. Oh, actually, they have more stuff now. I haven't been there for a while. But one of the ways you can do it is to buy a $99 interface which will attach to any hard drive you have. So you said you have a lot of storage. You can do terabytes.
Yes.
Which would be prohibitively expensive on some of these other services.
Right.
But it allows you to share files. It's secure. It says privately share anything with everyone you want. I doubt very much this would be blocked by China. I don't think it could be. Furthermore, I don't think it could be cracked by China. It would give you some privacy.
Nice.
Filetransporter.com.
I knew you'd have an answer for me.
Well, it's what I use, and it's for people who are paranoid. It's for people who say, I don't want to put private, for instance, if you're a physician, you have to really be careful about where patient records are stored. You can't allow those to be accessed, right? So, so this is the kind of solution for somebody who really doesn't, and plus you only pay once. You pay $99, and there's no additional fee.
That's outrageous.
I know.
That's great.
I know. So I would get. What I would do is get one. Maybe here's one thing you could do is get one in China and one at your premises, and have them synchronize over the internet.
Yeah.
And then they would have full access to everything on that drive, and you would have full access up to whatever the maximum size of a hard drive is these days, many terabytes.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so happy right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Get your IT guys on it to make sure it works with China. I'm not making that promise, but I don't see any reason why it wouldn't.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thanks
Leo,
for the call.
thank you.
I appreciate it. They do sell other devices that include hard drives, but I think the $99 one is great because basically it's just a little dongle that provides that access. You plug it into your Ethernet port. I have one sitting right in front of me, and I have one at home, and I make sure they synchronize. And to the internet, 5 miles down the road or 10,000 miles across the world is the same. It does, that's the beauty of the internet. Let's see, we're running a little short on time, but I'm gonna at least start with Velma and Torrance because Velma's been very patient. Hi, Velma. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Good morning.
Good morning.
My question is that I am a volunteer ESL teacher, and what I would like to do is grab audio clips from the internet or the radio and be able to put it onto my tablet and play it for my students so they can hear what I call real speech by real people.
Aren't you great? Thank you for doing that. First of all, to volunteer and do that is wonderful.
Oh, welcome.
So your source for the audio would be streaming radio, would be YouTube. Where would you be getting the audio?
Someplace from my desktop computer or even walking down the street. But really what I'd like to do is grab these things electronically because right now...
You want MP3 files?
Yes.
Of just the audio, yeah.
Yes, and I think I'm doing it primitively. In other words, I hold my tablet up to my computer and,
Yeah, that's primitive. Okay, I'm sorry. Do you have you do have a computer, yeah.
Yes, I do.
So there's a company called Applian, Applin, that makes something called Replay Radio that lets you schedule and record radio. It also can be used to capture other audio on your computer. I like it. We just ran out of time. Applian, Applin. I'll put this in the show notes. You can get just the Replay Radio. They have a 30-day, I think, trial, so you can see if it'll do what you want it to do. And I would recommend that. Oh, look, I'm on here. Oh, my God, that's hysterical. That's funny. Their demo records my show every Saturday for 180 minutes. And Handle on the Law, and Clark Howard, and Car Talk. Well, I guess I'm in good company. So this is great for taking podcasts, which, by the way, podcasts would be another good solution. If you go into your iTunes and just look at the podcast section, those are kind of already made for you. In fact, I've used podcasts for language lessons. So podcast is fantastic. And they're already done. You just download them. And there's a variety of speech styles, some more colloquial than others, some like me, perfect at every time, enunciated clearly with a nice mid-Atlantic accent. Others, if you want your students to start sounding like they come from Saudi there, you could do that too. But so Replay Radio is a good one. You can try it for free to see if it'll do what you want. The nice thing about Replay Radio is it will schedule. So you, as you saw in that picture on the site, it will schedule a show that you can record. So if you think that Bill Handel, you want your students to sound like Bill Handel, you could actually record Bill Handel. Oops, Flash has been disabled for good reason. I don't use it. All right, so there you go. Why is my Flash disabled? That's interesting. But it does podcasts, so you can download podcasts. It's a nice little company, Applian, and the Replay Radio. But, you could just get podcasts. There was no... Okay, in the chat room, Bill Logic was saying, where can we get the Mac Break Weekly episode 32 video? There was no video. Many of our shows were audio for a long time. We only started doing video 6 years ago, something like that. So if you go to our website, you can see what's available, because we put whatever is available. So twit.tv/mbw32 will take you to episode 32. But I'm betting, yeah. Okay, this is a little deceptive, and this is a flaw on our website, where it says video coming soon, video coming never. There wasn't any video. So no wonder you're confused. So there's only audio. So just so you know, that's why there's only an audio download. This is a flaw in the way the website works. That'll be going away as soon as we get our new website. That's one of the several things we have a problem with. All right, I'm going to take a break. Stare at Heather.
Oh, hey.
Yeah?
I have a question for Scotty if he can pick up Lanella.
We got to go to Scotty. Yeah. What am I saying? Doi. Sorry, Scott. I always forget you. I love you. I love you, but I forget you.
No problemo. Heather, you got a question for me?
Well, Lanella in L.A., I don't know if you can... Oh, he's jumping up. Because he would hit the line. Anyway, I'll ask it for her. Lanella was wondering about making a flat screen TV look like a CRT.
Making a flat screen TV look like a CRT. In what respect? The CRTs had a curved screen, a convex curved screen. Now we have concave. In what respect
were you asking, Lanella? I'll translate.
Okay.
The color's better on CRT.
Well, yeah, okay. We have a color standard that TVs should adhere to in order to reproduce the content accurately. And so CRTs could do it, but current flat panel TVs can also do it. So there is no reason to think that a CRT has better colors inherently than a flat panel TV. One thing that CRTs do have that are better than most flat panel TVs are deeper blacks. Now, plasmas were able to reach that deep, deep black, but they're not available anymore, so we can't really talk about those. The other kind of flat panel that really reaches those CRT blacks is OLED or OLED. And those TVs, those flat panel TVs, can definitely reach the CRT blacks. They can reproduce a very wide range of color, probably akin to CRT. But again, you need to rein those colors in if you want an accurate picture. If you want an accurate reproduction of what the content creator intended for you to see, what they thought their movie or TV show or whatever would look like. What they want it to look like is really the way you should see it, certainly the way I want to see it. So you need to take those big, expansive, brilliant colors and rein them in. And the way to do that is on any TV, to begin with anyway, is to go into the menu, the picture menu, or the picture menu is typically what it's called, and find a control, usually at the top, called picture mode, or sometimes just mode. And when you take it out of the box, when you bring it home from the store or take delivery from the shipper, you plug it in, you turn it on. That picture mode is going to be something like dynamic or vivid, which does have those brilliant, super saturated colors, which are not accurate. So instead, you want to take that picture mode and you want to change it to movie or cinema. That will bring those colors more or less closer to the colors that the content creator expected you to be watching in, or was watching him or herself when they made the content and said, yes, that's what I want it to look like. So to get the blacks of CRT, you really need an OLED. And OLED TVs are expensive. LG's OLEDs are coming down quite a bit. Their 55-inch went from $15,000 to about $3,000 in the course of 1 year. And this year they're coming out with a 55, a 65, and a 77, I believe. And the 77 is still $30,000, so it's way expensive. But that's the only way you're going to get the CRT blacks. The way to get closest to it with an LCD TV is to get an LCD TV where the backlight, all LCD TVs have a backlight, but some of them, the more expensive ones, I will admit, generally, with the exception of Vizio, have LEDs arrayed behind the screen. So you've got this screen, and behind it in a two-dimensional array are a bunch of little LEDs. And if you get one like that, which is called full array backlighting, and it has a feature called local dimming, in which the LEDs behind dark parts of the scene get dimmer and LEDs behind bright parts of the scene get brighter, you can start to approach the black levels of CRT. So that's the solution for most people. Vizio makes the least expensive full array local dimming, sometimes called FALD or FALD. And the Vizio M series I've had now for some months, and it really looks great. And it's pretty inexpensive, too.
Thanks, Scott.
My pleasure.
All right, take care. See you next week.
You betcha.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, smartphones, home theater, digital photography, anything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number. Normally, Johnny Jett, our travel guru, would join us this hour. He's in the air. Sometimes happens with travel gurus, but he'll be on 1 hour and a half from now. It's this third hour of the show. Meanwhile, I got lots of room for you if you call 8888 Ask Leo. Well, the lines are all busy, but my mind has room for you. I'll be able to talk to you. Hey, we were talking before the break with I think it was Velma, who was taught English as a second language, and she was looking for samples of real English as spoken by real people. We mentioned that you can record radio with Applian's Replay Radio, which is a great little product. But APPLIAN, and we'll put a link in the show notes to that. I'd be wrong of me not to mention podcasts, which are already recorded for your convenience. There are hundreds of thousands of excellent podcasts out there with a broad variety of English language dialects, accents, presentational styles. You could find everything from the perfect enunciation and spoken English of this show on podcast, so that your students would be speaking eloquently. Or you can always, there's plenty of podcasts for some guy talking like this there about, try the sports podcast for those. Anyway, if you have iTunes, that's one way to do it. If you're on a smartphone, Stitcher Internet Radio is fabulous for that. Slacker, there are quite a few apps even TuneIn Radio, and of course iHeartRadio. All of them have files, podcasts you can download and save forever and give to your students, playback, and all of that. None of them are podcasts generally. I don't think any of them are copy protected in any way. They're easily copied, moved around, and will provide you with a ample supply. I actually use podcasts to learn other languages too. There's some great podcasts. There's a French podcast for learning French. There's quite a few where you can learn conversational French, Chinese. The podcasts are in every language of the world. They're almost all free and widely available. I just think it's great. And if you, as Heather points out, if you want to teach your ESL students how to swear proficiently, there are podcasts for that. Mark Maron's funny guy, one of the great comics out there. I like Mark a lot. Mark Maron does a podcast, WTF. You could find that, and it's full of profanity. So I think if you are learning English as a second language, you might as well learn all of English as a second language. 8888 Ask Leo. Back to the phones we go. Let's see. We have Adam in West Covina, California. Hi, Adam. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for taking my call.
It's great. Thanks for calling.
I'm working on an art installation, 6 televisions connected to 2 computers linked together, 3 screens apiece. And right now it's all wired up with crazy, 100-plus feet of cable. And I'm trying to find some type of wireless solution that can help me out.
That's cool. This is in the model of the great Korean artist named Jun Pak, right? He used to do a lot of video installations and so forth.
Really? I haven't heard of.
Oh my gosh! How can you? Are you a student of art?
Yes, I am.
I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't pollute your creative juices with what has gone before. But he was the king of this. NAMJUNE. Actually, it's NAIM. Pak, P-A-K. Actually, it's a Vietnamese name, so you'll see a variety of anglicizations of it. But he was very famous for his video installations back when they were CRTs and you did RF. Now we've got digital screens. You can use wireless. Tell me a little bit about, so you have 3 screens?
3 screens per computer.
Per computer. Oh, that's going to be challenging.
Yeah, so right now everything's linked up perfectly, but it's all cabled. So now we're just trying to find...
Oh, okay. So you are able to do it wired. So does each screen have a different display?
Yeah, it's all independent.
And a single computer can do 3 different displays, no problem?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you wouldn't get a wireless solution that came out of the computer because that's going to be challenging to have 3 different signals from the computer with Wi-Fi or something like that. There's one, but of course you do have these 3 analog cables coming out of the computer, right?
Yeah, we convert the signal. Once it's split into 3, we actually convert that signal into analog, and then we have long runs of cable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
SDI or something like that, so you can go a long way.
Yeah.
So there are analog wireless solutions that I think we would have to use. A digital wireless solution is going to be challenging because you'd have to have some way to make each discrete picture, somehow come out. And so that means you need some processing on the television end to say, oh, that one's for me. You see what I'm saying? A little more complicated. Yeah. But once you go analog, there are a lot of wireless. In fact, I think Scott's still on the line. Are you still here, Scott? There are a lot of RF-based wireless television distribution.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Geffen, G-E-F-E-N makes some, I know.
Yep, Belkin does.
Belkin.
Let's see.
What was the Wavecom, right? The Wavecom Junior. I don't know. I
don't remember that one.
Yeah, that was the one a lot of people use. RF in some ways is a better solution. Digital, I've found, can be kind of hard to get working, and it's not going to work in your case because you have 3 different signals coming out of each solution.
That's going to be tough. DVDO is another company I just remembered.
DVDO.
Yeah,
so what
they make a product called the Air.
Okay, and is that a good one?
Yeah.
So what you're going to do is you're going to have the same conversion of the analog signal that you have now, But instead of going to a long cable, it's going to go into a little transmitter.
Right.
And then on the other end, where the TV is, you're going to have a little receiver. And that's going to eliminate the cable. It's going to air gap them, eliminate the cable in between. So
how much distance?
Probably it varies because the displays actually move on stands. So the furthest distance is probably 30 feet.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
But,
and it's line of sight, right? It's all in the same room.
It is in the same room. Everything, all of the computer stuff exists on like a video hub in the center, in the back of the display that we're setting up, and the displays kind of move around side to side. So, rotating the transmitters to line up with the receivers is obviously not, able to happen. So we were worried about, possible crosstalk between, transmitters and receivers and things like that.
Right. Well, the DVDO Air system uses an RF frequency in the 60 gigahertz range, which means it can't go through walls, but it can be within a single room. And in fact, if it all of a sudden loses its connection in one direction, it'll immediately start bouncing the signal off the walls and the ceiling to try and find another way to get to that receiver. And it'll do it so fast that there are no dropouts.
Let me ask you, Adam, does it have to be high def?
No, it does not.
Okay. So these are a little more expensive because they are HD. You can get maybe less, but I have to say my experience with wireless HD has always been a little wonky.
It's tricky to do well.
Yeah.
I think this DVDO is probably the best.
Yeah,
way to
and
do
you're
it.
pretty close. So that's going to solve it. And the reason they use 60 gigahertz is there's no interference from Wi-Fi, and in the 2.4 gigahertz band, there's a lot of other stuff, a lot of noise. So 60 is a good place to be. But you're going to have to do something like this. In other words, I don't think there's a way to do it digitally because your problem is that one computer can't feed 3 digital signals easily. So I would get it out of the computer first as you figure it out, and then use transmitters there. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thank you, Scott. Scott just forgot to hang up, and
I forgot to hang up. I was just hanging out in the chat room, and I totally forgot to hang up.
We put him in work. We said, "Oh, hey, Scott, I see you're still there." All right, now you can. Now you can.
Now
go.
I'm going to hang up.
All
right.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Did he? Who had the jack? Did she have the jack? Somebody had the jack. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's move on as we continue with the calls. Andrew in Riverside, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing good. I'm hoping you can save my life here. I had my computer's running slow. It's about a 7-year-old laptop, an HP, and my friend decided to do something to it. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, beware geeks bearing gifts.
Yeah, how about that? So it turns out he installed Linux.
Oh, wow.
And
did he ask you? Did he say, "Hey, I think I'm going to wipe out Windows and install Linux on here"?
No, it would have been nice for a heads up, though, wouldn't it? Yeah. So
it's not, to be honest, on an old computer, you probably were still running XP on that, right?
No, it actually had 7.
Oh, it had 7.
Yeah, it was a good computer. I'm hoping that...
You sound like old Yeller. Yeah, that was a good computer before my friend took him out back and shot him. What?
Yeah, so I'm hoping. Is there any way to get some of my info back, or is it?
What kind of friend? Okay, look, I like Linux. I'm not knocking Linux here, but what kind of friend does that? It depends what he did. He may have not touched your existing install at all. He may have made it a dual boot system, and then all your data and even Windows would still be there. That would be the best case scenario. The kindest interpretation. He may also have been a real jerk and wiped out the hard to say, "Oh, this Windows stuff, I hate Windows." Wiped the whole thing and put Linux on there.
Yeah, I thought he was just giving me an antivirus or something. And
is this friend kind of a prankster?
No, I best of intentions, I suppose.
Yeah, but he didn't say anything to you.
No, I was busy making him dinner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you spit in his food next time. That was because that's basically what he did to you. If he really did wipe out the, it is an antivirus in a way. You're completely immune to all Windows viruses now. Wow. Well, I guess the first thing would be figure out what he did. Can you ask him?
I'm not even sure he knows what he did.
Oh, this is really bad.
Yeah, it's
so
pretty
he
bad.
came over. I'm guessing he came over with a Linux disk, a CD.
Did.
And the way these work is they're called live CDs now. This actually is a brilliant innovation by the Linux community. You put the disk in and you reboot the computer and have it boot from the CD, and suddenly you're running a full Linux on the computer. This is useful for a lot of reasons, diagnostics and so forth. And then you reboot the computer, take the disk out, and it's Windows again. Nothing changes. That's a great way to try Linux. It's not as fast as it could be. Unfortunately, when you do that, on that Linux desktop, there's also an icon that says install. And if you run that, and you run it by all the defaults, it will repartition your hard drive, wiping everything out and installing Linux in the process. That's very possibly what he did. Maybe he just did the live boot. Is there still a disk in the drive there?
No, there's not.
He went home with it?
Yeah. And he was looking at it yesterday, saying something about maybe test disk will fix it. I don't even know what that is.
No, nothing's going to fix it if he installed Linux. If he installed it the default way, which is, if you just click OK on the Linux installs, what they do is they literally repartition your drive, or in the process deleting all the data that was on it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, isn't it special?
The old computer was slow, but it ran.
Yeah, well, it should run fine now. And one of the advantages of Linux, which is a free Unix-based operating system, besides the fact that it doesn't cost anything, is that it does tend to run better on older hardware. One thing to try is to reboot the machine and see if it boots right into Linux. Oh, boy.
As soon as I turn it on, Linux pops up, and I got to sign in as that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm guessing he wiped it out. You could bring it to somebody who understands this and can maybe look at the drive and see if any data is still there. If there's just depends. I don't know what he did. If he followed the default, it repartitions the whole drive, including, by the way, eliminating the Windows recovery partition.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
So you really pretty much have made that a Linux computer.
Well, I guess I got a new computer, huh?
Yeah. So some people in the chat room are making some suggestions. There's some Linux gurus in there. Ed says there's a program called boot-repair. You might try running that. If in fact there still is a version of Windows on there, boot repair will see it and put the bootloader, set up the bootloader correctly, and then you maybe can boot into your Windows. This would require, though, that your friend had some sophistication.
Well, he knows a lot more than I do. I mean, I don't know hardly anything but to use it.
Ask him. Say, dude, did you save my Windows partition?
I don't think he did, because I kind of asked him, and I think he realized what he had done. And it was ironic because I had a 1.3 terabyte hard drive sitting right next to it, so I could have, backed up first. And I know
you had no backup at all.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, and you didn't have one. You hadn't been backing up.
No, I just got the external, so I haven't been able to yet.
Yeah. Well, lesson learned.
Don't let people touch.
A couple of lessons. Don't make him a nice dinner while he's erasing your hard drive. Always have a backup, because even if you have don't have well-meaning friends, things happen. Your hard drive could just as easily have died. 7 years in, that's not unusual, and you would have lost everything too. So you got to back up from now on.
Now, if I have a backup disk from a long time ago, would that still boot Windows back up? Because I remember doing a backup as soon as I bought it.
Yeah. It depends what you backed up. If you only backed up data, no. But if you made what the system asked for, which is a recovery disk,
yeah,
I think you did. It sounds like when you first boot up a new Windows computer, if they didn't give you recovery disks, it'll say, "Would you like to make a recovery disk?" I bet you did that. Is it more than one CD?
I don't recall. It was so long ago. I'm sure I have it, though.
See if you find it. If you do, then put the first disc in, reboot to the CD, and it'll say, would you like to restore? At least you'll get rid of Linux. It's not going to bring back your data.
Well,
your data's gone.
Now I got a fast computer.
Linux is great. Linux is great. Your friend had the best in town. What was dinner?
Pizza.
Uh-huh. You made homemade pizza?
Yeah.
Fresh dough and the whole thing?
Everything, the whole shebang. Yeah, I'm even having a hard time connecting to my Wi-Fi at home.
Oh, man.
And that's weird.
Well, yeah, it's okay. This is a problem sometimes with Linux, too, is you got to have the right drivers for the hardware. So that laptop has its own Wi-Fi card, right?
Right.
And you have to have on Linux the driver that supports it. It may not have come with the original install. It's not like Windows where when you install it, everything just works. You have to do some work to make sure you have all the correct drivers. So, but we're going to put a link, thanks to Ed, we're going to put a link to the boot repair command just in case. But it sure sounds like your friend just wiped the drive and started over. Ouch. Ouch. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Bill, it just depends. It can. In no case does a modern Linux, Ubuntu, or anything have support for all hardware. Our show today brought to you by I love Personal Capital. The great folks at Personal Capital. Just had dinner with Bill Harris, the founder of Personal Capital. He was one of the founders of PayPal, CEO there, CEO at Intuit. He knows his stuff. And a few years ago said, one thing that's really bugging me is that people are kind of putting money aside for retirement, but then ignoring it, then not paying any attention to it. And they're basically, they're letting it get frittered away. He created Personal Capital to make it easy for you to follow your investments. It's hard right now. Everything's on a different website. You got your checking account, you got your charge cards, your investment account, I have several investment accounts. They're all spread out. You got to log in each one. By the time you get from one to the other, you forgot what the first one said. Personal Capital takes it all, puts it in a single page, an easy to see, easy to read financial dashboard. You can use it for budgeting. They have budgeting tools. They also have great tools to figure out if you're paying too much on your 401k and mutual fund fees. There are, I hate to say it because you're kind of stuck, but there are 401ks that are terrible. They have very few choices. The choices they have are not good. At least with Personal Capital, you'll know. You'll understand what's happening to your money. If you're getting financial advice, you know if you're getting good financial advice. In fact, one of the things Personal Capital also does, if you qualify, they have certified financial planners who can help you, give you advice. Some of us like to do it on our own. If you want some help, they can help you with their first registered investment advisors who are really good. For a limited time, when you open a Personal Capital investment account, they'll give you $100 for every $100,000 you deposit, up to $10,000. That's kind of a win-win. You get cash in your account and personalized investment advice from their registered investment advisor. So here's what I suggest. Schedule your free one-on-one investment consultation today. This is a limited time offer. Get a little extra cash in your account. And don't forget, it's always free to use the Personal Capital software to monitor your income, your spending, the performance of your investments in real time. Find and eliminate high mutual fund or 401k fees, other hidden brokerage fees. All of that is free. Personal Capital. Go to personalcapital.com/techguy to sign up today. And if you want to open an investment account there, do it now, because for a limited time, if you qualify, they'll give you $100 for every $100,000 you deposit, up to $10,000. Personalcapital.com/techguy. We love them. I use them, and I thank them so much for their support. To put that hat to Bill, who's a really great guy. Personalcapital.com/techguy. I'm Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number to call. Doug is in Manhattan, not New York, Montana.
Montana.
Did they sell Manhattan to the Indians from the buy it?
We probably didn't buy it from them. We probably just took
it from them.
Yeah.
$24 and nothing.
That's probably pretty close. Manhattan is about 5 miles from the beginning of the Missouri River.
I think Montana is one of the most beautiful states. Just gorgeous.
Well, thank you, Leo. We appreciate it. We kind of think so, too.
Yeah. Well, you and the 15 other people who live there must really enjoy it. That's part of the charm of it, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, what can I do for you?
Well, first of all, I got to say I've been listening to you for about 3 years. I am not a geek whatsoever, and about 95% of what you talk about goes right over my head. But I still
You still listen.
I really still enjoy your show. Maybe I learned something that I don't know.
I think it's sinking in.
Some osmosis or
Yeah.
So anyway, here's my problem. My girlfriend's laptop suddenly, from one night to the next day, we have nothing on the screen. We can hear the hard drive spinning.
Good.
But
that's a good sign. So something's happening, but the screen is dark.
Yeah.
Now, one thing to do when this happens is, there are a couple of things that could make the screen not work, but the computer's still working. So we want to see if it's just the screen, for instance. One thing to do is shine it into daylight or light, because if the backlight, all LCD screens are lit from behind, and don't look now, but somebody's disrobing behind you, Heather. I would not turn around. They're lit from behind, but if the backlight burns out, poor guy doesn't know he's on national radio taking off his clothes. Okay, if the backlight goes out, this is why studios should not have windows onto the street. I'm just saying. If the backlight goes out, the screen will still be there, but you'll see kind of faint ghosting of the screen when you shine it in light, if you turn it into a reflective screen. If you don't see anything, I mean, it is gone, it is dead. It's also just possible that the screen itself is gone. In laptops, when you open and close them, that lid hinges. Right where that hinge is a ribbon cable that connects the screen to the motherboard in the bottom part. And, you can imagine what happens to a ribbon cable if it gets torqued back and forth, eventually it can break. And that's a very common failure in laptops, and fortunately a very easy thing to fix. So it could just be that. Here's the way to really tell what's going on. Does the laptop have a connection for video out? Most laptops do nowadays. A mini display port, an HDMI port, a VGA port on older ones where you can hook up a desktop.
Video out. I'll have to look.
There'll be a place you can hook up a desktop monitor. If you can find one and hook it up, if the laptop's intact and everything's working, you'll see Windows on the screen.
We can plug it into another.
And then you can keep using it that way if you wish.
Sure.
If you don't want to repair it, at least you can use it to get the data off and then bring it into the shop.
Absolutely. And that's a video out.
Yeah, it'll look like if you look on the side, it'll look like. How old is the laptop?
It's about 4 years old.
Oh, it's not that old.
No.
So it won't be VGA. That's the old analog way of doing it. It'll be probably a display port or mini display port, which is a small connection. It doesn't look like USB. It doesn't look like the power. It's odd. There might be a little screen, silk screened onto the laptop above it, just to tell you what it is.
Sure.
But so what you're looking for is a display out. Now, you may have to get a cable. Do you have a monitor somewhere, a desktop?
Actually, we do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you may just be able to plug it directly in.
Sure.
If not, you may have to go to whatever the equivalent of Radio Shack is in Manhattan. And,
Cows are us.
and get a cable. But that's one way to tell if it's just the screen or if the laptop itself is dead. Now, if the laptop itself is dead, the fact that you're hearing whirring means that the power supply didn't die. Mm-hmm. But it could be, the motherboard has a problem. There could be the hard drive is old and lost its operating system, so nothing's happened. But you don't see the screen. You never see anything, a flicker or anything.
No, just it's pretty black.
Yeah. I think that's probably just the screen. One hopes it is. That's an easy repair.
Yeah, because I like I said, I could hear the hard drive and I could feel it heat up.
Yeah, okay, so it's working.
So we'll try that.
The other thing is, sometimes you can do this. You can accidentally turn off the screen. Some laptops have keys that if you hit the function key and the screen key, it'll turn off the screen or turn it way down. So I would play with those. You'll see extra on the keycaps. You'll see extra little information about that. Make sure you've got the screen turned all the way up, that it didn't get turned all the way down, and that if you have an on-off button, and usually that'll be on the function key row, there's a turn off the screen button. Make sure you didn't just do that, because sometimes that happens.
Okay. Well, I got a couple different options. I thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. I'm sure it's do you fly fish up there?
They do, yes.
Yeah.
This was the area that A River Runs Through It was filmed.
Yeah. Oh.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Gorgeous.
We call it the last best place.
Yeah. Well, keep it pristine for us, will you?
We'll do the best. You try to get up and visit sometime.
I would love to. I've been, and I would love to go back. It's just gorgeous. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Take care. Yeah, it's that's often something on a laptop that fails because the hinge on the lid and you bend, and but there's so many other things it could be. But I think it could be. First thing to always check. Just make sure you didn't accidentally turn off or turn the screen all the way down. You can do it. They shouldn't put a key that does that, but it happens. Linnella in Los Angeles, California. Hi, Linnella.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine. I would like to make a comment regarding something you said last week regarding Internet TV when someone called you.
Yeah.
I am in disagreement about putting TV on the Internet.
Why is that, Linnella?
A couple of reasons.
Okay.
I think that the data that is necessary for people to have a picture that looks like we have TV now, and you have hundreds of channels, would be massive. I do believe that we should update our infrastructure. I think that would have to be done in order to do that, right?
You know what's good news? There is so much bandwidth available on the Internet now that we don't use. We use a fraction of the total available bandwidth, and it can be expanded infinitely. So here's the good news. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. It may be a problem in what you call the last mile, and that's really almost always when we're having trouble watching streaming video. It isn't the big internet out there. It's the local stuff, the last mile, coming from your internet service provider, sometimes just down the street to your house. They haven't provided enough bandwidth, you haven't bought enough bandwidth, or you have hardware that's not sufficient to play back the video, or the internet service provider isn't fast enough connected to the big, what we call the backbones. But here's the amazing story. The backbone has so much more capacity than we use. We're not even close. One of the reasons, it's interesting, one of the reasons that's the case is because of the internet bubble that happened in the late 90s. Remember how Pets.com is the classic story. Company raised millions of dollars to sell pet goods through the internet. But it turned out that sending kitty litter, which is essentially clay, via the mails was prohibitively expensive. It was much cheaper to buy kitty litter down the street. And Pets.com, with their famous hand puppet talking dog, went out of business with about 1,000 other startups. But in the interim, all that money they raised were pumped into infrastructure. I'll finish this story when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Great question, by the way, from Linnella. She says we shouldn't allow people to watch TV over the internet. And I mean, there's a couple of points to be made here. The good point is that you're absolutely right, Linnella, that broadcast television has no bandwidth limitations at all. A TV station gets a transmitter, they put a tower in the air on top of a tall building, and then whether 1 million or 100 million people watch that signal, it doesn't matter. It's not limited. There is no resource limitation there because it's floating through the air. Anybody can grab it. And the internet is exactly the opposite. Everybody who watches television on the internet is downloading a lot of data from the internet. In fact, that's why you've seen situations when the iPhone first came out, for instance, on AT&T's network, Netflix and their battles with internet service providers like Comcast and Verizon. You've seen complaints because if everybody in your neighborhood is watching streaming television at night, Netflix at night, or even if it's not Netflix, if neighbor one's watching Hulu, one's watching YouTube, one's watching Netflix, they're all in effect downloading as much data as they can get. And Netflix, as do many, will increase the amount of data you used until it reaches the limit because it wants to give you the best possible picture. So there's a lot of traffic going on in that neighborhood. The internet service providers have plenty of room for it. I want to make that clear. They may have to upgrade infrastructure, especially in that last mile. They may have to buy more internet access to their central office. They may have to make interconnect deals, but there isn't any true limitation in capacity. And I started telling the story of how in the internet bubble, this has happened in other bubbles. Historians of economics and of bubbles have pointed out that this happened, for instance, with the intercontinental railroads. When we first put railroads across this country, all of the companies that built those railroads ended up going bankrupt quickly thereafter. It was a bubble, but we still got the railroad. The tracks did not go away. And it's a very similar situation. Many companies raised hundreds and billions of dollars in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then went under. That money didn't disappear, however. It was used to build infrastructure. And as a result, we have a huge amount of unused capacity. Sometimes they call it dark fiber. Fiber optic cables, these glass cables, can carry a tremendous amount of data. All of the phone calls, for instance, made on Mother's Day can be carried on a single glass strand. That's this huge amount of data can go. And we have thousands of glass strands in place all over the country. Most of them are not lit up. They're not being used. They're dark fiber. So there's a lot of capacity left. It's, in fact, hard to imagine using up the capacity of the internet. It certainly, putting television on the internet will not do that. It's a legitimate concern because it is a different kind of model, and it does use resources. For instance, people often ignore or forget that every data center, Netflix big data center, uses immense amounts of power. Companies like Facebook and Google and Apple are very sensitive to that, not only to the cost, but also the environmental impact of all the power that we use for Google searches and iCloud downloads and video downloads from Netflix. It uses a huge amount of power. Those three companies particularly are taking leadership in making sure that all of their network operation centers are carbon neutral, and many of them are solar. Apple is building solar plants like crazy. They just committed to spending $2 billion to build a solar data center in Arizona, where there's a lot of sun. Google and Microsoft have built data centers in areas where there's a lot of hydroelectric power. They're all looking for ways to reduce carbon emissions, to not burn coal or oil to make that power, but to create that power in a sustainable way. And that's very important because we are using a ton of power. So your case, while it's not an issue of how many bits we can get, bits are virtually infinite, there are issues about the resources consumed to pass those bits along. And we should be aware of that. And I think it seems like it's free and non-polluting. In fact, it is polluting, and it's not free. So it's very important to consider the cost of internet access. But I don't think you have to worry. I mean, the cost to the environment, the cost to us in this world. But I don't think you have to worry about it running out of bandwidth. That we've got. We just have to make sure that we create that bandwidth in a sustainable, responsible way. And I'm really impressed by what Facebook and Google and Microsoft and Apple have done to do that. Of course, it's in their interest. It reduces costs in some cases. But they know, they're very well aware of how much power they're using. I remember reading some statistics, and I don't remember what it is, but every Google search uses a certain amount of power. Every time you search Google, that's not free. You're not only using power on your computer, power for your internet, but Google itself uses power. Its data centers use a huge amount of power. 88, but don't worry about running out of juice on the internet. We got plenty. Have it take as many bits as you want, we'll make more. That's the good news. In fact, we stream 24/7 from my little business, the podcast network I run called TWIT, T-W-I-T, stands for This Week in Tech. We do 30 shows about technology. I'm streaming this show live. We stream many other shows live in audio and video. And I know it uses a ton of data. I hear from people all the time. that they watch sometimes all the time. You could use up terabytes of data. I'm trying to remember the downloads that we offer. We offer both live and downloads. The downloads we offer, I think, use well over a petabyte a month. That's a huge amount of data going out. Good news, it's getting faster and easier. It's going in the right direction from the point of view of our users. So thank you for actually raising a great point, Lanella. I appreciate it. But you don't have to worry. Howard, Tarzana, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, Howard.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi,
welcome.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, thanks. I've got kind of a bizarre problem. I design fonts as sort of a hobby. I've sold a couple, etc.
Hey, that's great. What tool do you use to do that?
I use Font Creator.
Okay. That's really neat. I mean, there's a fine art to creating fonts.
Yeah, I've tailored them to some businesses, and they want a certain look for their logos and things like that. And I find it's very flexible because then you can resize it, you can warp it according to, how they want to put it, etc. And normally what I do when I test the font that I make is I just copy the font and drop it into the Windows font directory. And it's worked fine.
Okay.
The last 3 weeks, I have been unable to do that. And I have gone through the registry. I have tried.
You can't just drop it in there, huh?
Well, like I said, for years I have been. And now all of a sudden, and I can't figure out why, it won't work. Windows says that the font is there, because if I try to drop it in a second time, it says, do you want to replace this font, because it's already there. But when you go to look for it in any application, or even in the Windows font folder, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. But in the applications, it's definitely not there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it has anything to do with anything. But the Windows font folder used to have, its icon was a little folder with like an F by it in blue, and now it's just a regular folder.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's okay. What version of Windows are you using?
7.
Okay. And did it happen after an update? Do you remember?
I don't remember specifically, because the
at some point they just it just stopped working.
Right.
So there are special folders in Windows. The font folder is one of them. In fact, I think it's not a folder. I'm not 100% sure of this, but I think it looks like a folder, but it's not a folder.
Right.
I think what you're doing isn't really the approved way to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. So it might have worked, but it's one of those things that Microsoft would say, but it's not guaranteed to continue to work.
Uh-huh.
That would be my guess. It also sounds like something went wrong, that folder, which isn't a folder but looks like a folder, and that's why you have the designated font folder, somehow maybe got munged up. Right-click the font. Are they TrueType fonts?
Yes.
Right-click it and use install, or use install from the control panel. Should work better. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. There's also an issue, and it may be what you're biting up against, is that there's a limit on the number of fonts. 500 is the top. Have you installed more than 500 fonts?
Oh, yeah. But I installed more than 500 because, I even thought about that, and I searched the internet, and everybody said that there's technically no limit. It's just as long as you don't they were talking about people that have 5,000 and 6,000 fonts without a problem. I probably have 2,000 maybe.
I'm going to guess that Windows has decided you have enough fonts.
How nice of it.
Yeah. Let's put this this is a thread from the Microsoft Community Support Forums, which is how do I restore the original Windows 7 font folder? And it actually describes some workarounds. Okay. It also does say, though, that 500 is the limit in Windows 7. I don't know. That's an interesting question. I would read this thread. There's a lot of suggestions and so forth. 500 is a very small number, unless they mean families. But even then, you're going to run out pretty quick.
Exactly. Yeah. Would you give me the thread again so I can jot it down?
Yeah, well, we'll put it in the show notes at techguylabs.com.
Okay.
It's at answers.microsoft.com, and you could just Google, how do I restore the original Windows 7 font folder? That would give it to you. But the correct, or the approved, drag and drop works, as you have noted. The approved way to do it is either from the control panel or to right-click on the font and install.
And click install.
Have you tried that?
Yes.
And it still doesn't work?
It still doesn't work.
Yeah. So it's doing essentially the same thing, but it might be going to the registry to register the font, something like that.
You know, I thought about the registry because I have, like, for example, there'd be a font that it says it's there, and so it won't accept the new one. So not only did I delete it, but I went into the registry and deleted all the 400 references to it.
Yeah. Be really careful about stuff like that.
Yeah, but it still, I guess I didn't get all the references because it still says...
It still thinks it's there.
Well, and you know, it allows you to install it. It looks like it's installing, but then there's no program that you can see that font style.
I'm almost... Many so-called Windows folders are not folders. Windows is told to present them as folders, and I'm pretty sure the font folder is one of them. That's why it has that F. And what it is, it really is a library reflecting... And dragging it under that folder is really just another way of commanding it to install. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think probably you've either exceeded the number of fonts that Windows can reasonably handle, or maybe, and this happens too, that folder is no longer the font folder. It got corrupted somehow. Something went wrong. And Windows, because it's not representing it as a font folder anymore.
Right.
And if you open that as a folder, there are fonts in there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it got deregistered. I think the folder got deregistered.
Okay, so how do I re-register?
Yeah, that's a good question. Have you? And does Type Creator or Font Creator not come with a install program?
It does. It does come with an install program as part of it.
Yeah.
But it has no more success than I do.
Okay, that sounds to me like there's a corruption, and we need to figure out what to do if your font folder is corrupted. This happens a lot in Windows. Let me just see real quickly if I can. Yeah, here's another one. Restore font folder to original condition. Also Windows 7.
And is that a lab, or where is that?
It's answers.microsoft.com. Here's what they say. Okay. Start control panel appearance and personalization fonts.
Right.
Select font settings on the left, and then select restore default font settings. That's from Microsoft itself.
Okay.
We'll put this in the show notes too. Let me put this in the chat room, and James can paste it into the
great
the show room, the room. And then another answer is do a system restore, which is not a good answer.
No.
Not a good answer. Yeah, because it's not a folder and it's something else, it's a library.
Right.
Windows 7 did this a lot. And then if it gets deregistered and just turns into a folder, strange things happen. I think that's what happened.
Because, I figured something was up when I noticed the icon had changed.
Yeah. That's Windows saying there's nothing special about this folder.
Right.
That's a normal folder.
Right.
If you Google corrupt font folder or restore font folder, I see a lot of Windows 7 specific.
Oh, really?
Yeah, specific.
That tells you something.
Yeah. So I have a feeling this is. I would try some of these troubleshooting. I see a ton of them. Yeah.
All right, I will definitely give it a shot then.
Yeah.
Because I've been driving myself crazy trying to figure it out.
What a fun thing to know. Did you study typography in school, or?
No, actually, I didn't. I just sort of got into sort of the back way. I was screwing around with it, and I asked a friend, and he said, well, you know, I have this program, Font Creator, that lets you kind of customize things. And so I was playing around with it one day, and some guy happened to walk by and see what I was doing on the screen and said, you know, I have a business that I'm starting, and I'd like a logo with some lettering that I can use. You want to give it a shot? So I did, and
how fun!
As they say, is history. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. It's a kind of a a distraction from the real world sort of thing.
Well, it's quite an art. I mean, there's a great book. I don't know if you've read it. Let me find the name. It's got stealing sheep in the name. Something like somebody would kern black letter would steal sheep. Let me see if I can find it. It was the best book on fonts I've ever read. Anyone who would letter space lowercase would steal sheep. Let me see if I can find the book. But it was a wonderful book about fonts and typefaces, and there's quite a lot of information about it. If I could just find that book. Well, I'll find it. We'll put it in the show notes too. I have it somewhere, and it's a wonderful book.
Oh, great! I'll look for it.
Yeah.
Anyone who would what's the title?
Anyone who would letter space black letter would steal sheep. It's an old quote from the book. I'm pretty sure the book was something like steal sheep, or let me see. It was a wonderful book on typing. Stop Stealing Sheep. That's it. And Stop Stealing Sheep and Find Out How Type Works. This is by Eric Spiekerman. Wonderful book.
Oh, I will definitely read it.
Yeah, since you've taken this on as a hobby, I think it's worth reading.
Stop Stealing Sheep.
Stop Stealing Sheep. It's on Amazon.
I will definitely check it out. Great. Well, thanks so much,
All
Leo.
right. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. Oh, my goodness. It's Tech Guy time. Hour 3 of the Tech Guy Show. My phone number, 8888-ASK-LEO, 888-827-5536, toll free in the U.S. and Canada. So if you're listening to one of our 200 stations anywhere in the U.S. or Canada, you just call that number. Outside those areas, I know a lot of people listen on the internet. You can also call that number, but use something like Skype out to make the call. It won't cost you anything. 8888-ASK-LEO. We were talking about typefaces and designing fonts, which I think is a fascinating and fun thing to do, but quite the art form. And I wanted to let our caller know there's a great book. If anybody's interested in typeface and what makes a good typeface, what doesn't, why some typefaces look the way they do. There are a couple of things. First, of course, the wonderful documentary Helvetica, which is available on Netflix. It's just you wouldn't think a movie about a typeface would be interesting, but it's wonderful, isn't it? Just love it. And then here's a book I recommend that I read, and I am not a font designer. I don't know anything about fonts, but but we all deal with them now, don't we? And you probably even, as you're looking at a book or a Kindle or on screen, you probably have different reactions to different typefaces, both emotional and sometimes it's just, oh, that's ugly. Oh, why is he using Comic Sans, for instance? This is a book that will explain how type works. It's really good. It's called Stop Stealing Sheep. And the genesis of that title is long and involved, but it's worth reading the book. Stop Stealing Sheep and Find Out How Type Works. It's by a guy named Eric Spiekerman, and it's still available used on Amazon. I don't know if... Oh, no, they have a new version of it. That's good. Second edition. Loved it. If you have any interest, it's kind of a geeky subject, but it's important. You know, a lot of people credit Steve Jobs' interest in calligraphy with Apple's amazing design sense. When Jobs was in college, and he only went to college for one semester at Reed, and then dropped out, but continued to attend classes for some time. And the class that seems to have made the most impact on the young Steve Jobs before he founded Apple was a class in calligraphy, the art of fine handwriting. And he fell in love with calligraphy and design and fonts. And in fact, from the very beginning of the Macintosh, fonts were very important. It's where many of us first got exposed to the idea that different typefaces had different significance and that there was an art to it, a design to it, that some were elegant, some were ugly. But Jobs knew that, and his biographer, Walter Isaacson, gives a lot of credit to this class in calligraphy for the aesthetic sense that Steve Jobs developed, and something we owe a great debt of gratitude to, because he did make beautiful technology objects. Let's move on, shall we? Dwayne is on the line from Aurora, California. Hi, Dwayne. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. It's Aurora, Colorado, but that's all right.
Oh, Aurora, not Ka. Yeah, of course.
Anyway, good afternoon, and I just want to tell you how much not only do I enjoy your show, but for an ancient like me who still wants a paper owner's manual to come with all the products.
Those days are long gone, aren't they? You're lucky if you get a brochure.
Yeah. Basically, it seems anymore what you get is something that says, here's how to turn it on.
Yeah.
Go to this website to find out how to use it.
Yeah. So, I just bought a new Windows tablet. Let's see. There's the FCC statement, page 1. There's the RF exposure statement, page 2. Here's a page saying what's in the thing. And then a picture of it, which I don't really need since I already have it. And then charging your tablet, powering your tablet off and on, inserting a storage card. That's it. Manual over.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I find your show very informative and very helpful.
Thank you.
What I'm calling about today, though, is there is an app for the Android phones I'd like to put on my laptop, and I've seen a number of freeware programs out there that will
like BlueStacks.
Yeah. Will let your laptop emulate an Android. I'm just wondering, are there any inherent dangers in downloading a program like that, or is there any program like that you're aware of that's very good and very safe?
Yeah, no, they're safe. The reason this works is because Android itself is an emulator. You're not running the program directly on the hardware. You're running it inside what's called a virtual machine, a Java-based virtual machine. In the case of Android, it was called Dalvik, D-A-L-V-I-K, and now it's called ART, A-R-T, in the newest versions. So it's easy enough to actually put that virtual machine on any hardware, including on your PC. I've used BlueStacks. The only thing that I would say is it's just disappointing because it doesn't have access to the Google Store, and so it doesn't have the same variety of apps. No one has yet made, as far as I know, an emulator that uses the Google Store. Well, Google does because that's part of their developers emulator, but it's not something practical for you and me.
And actually, the specific app I'd like to load isn't available at the Google Store.
Yeah, okay. Well, you might be able to sideload it if you can get an APK. That's the file that Android applications come in.
Okay.
A .apk file. I guess it stands for Android package. But BlueStacks is free. It's open source, bluestacks.com. It will let you play or use a variety of Android apps on a desktop computer.
Okay. And is that S-T-A-C-K-S?
Yes, that's correct. S-T-A-C-K-S. The old-fashioned spelling.
Okay.
Yeah. Why use 3 letters when one would do, right? C-K-S. We'll just write X.
Yeah.
So, no, it's BlueStacks with CKS. There may be others. In fact, I'd ask in the chat room if there are other emulators that are as good or better, but the one I've used is BlueStacks, and while it's limited in the number of apps it can give you, it works pretty well.
All right. Well, I'll try that one.
All right, give it a shot. See, what's the app that you want to run?
It's called Showbox.
Showbox, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me look around and see if there's another emulator, if BlueStacks doesn't support it. And I'll see if I can find something for you.
All righty.
All right. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right. Take care. Let's go to Sonoma, just up the road a piece. I think that's in California. John's on the line. Hi, John.
Hi. How are you doing, Leo?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. As first, I want to say I've been listening to you for a long time. Back from Call for Help and Screensavers, and Radio.
Tech TV, the old days. Yeah.
I've been listening to you and following your advice. And the reason why I'm calling today, and actually, I got to point this out. My kids have all listened to you. They go to sleep to you at night. They want me to turn on. And
Oh.
Okay, we want to listen to Leo.
Oh.
Here's the background noise so they could sleep.
It's because to them it sounds like.
Well, I do it too. I listen and learn as my eyes close.
You know, when I read to my wife at night, she falls right asleep too. There must be something.
Yeah.
Something soporific in my delivery.
You have that radio voice.
That's it.
Well, the reason why I'm calling today is I at home right now I'm using and I'm not familiar. Know if you're familiar with it. It's a Via's Artigo A2000. I turned it into a Windows Home Server a while back.
No, I'm not familiar with it. A Via Artigo.
It was like a knockoff piece of. I don't know if I should say knockoff, but anyway, it was sort of a budget like Windows Home Server kind of a thing. Well, now I'm looking at changing and going with something like a Netgear Ready NAS.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the 314 model line.
So basically, Windows Home Server, which was a great product from Microsoft, a number of companies, including HP, made home servers, and then Microsoft killed it. And it's a shame because it was a great product. Microsoft's attitude was, well, you don't really need this separate product. You could just use Windows to do this. But it was really tuned for what you wanted to do, I think.
Yeah, and I did, and I'm using it kind of, but like you're saying, there's no more support.
Yeah, and there's no plugins. Let's take a break. We want to talk about what you want to do, and the Ready gear I love. I have another recommendation as well. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, good news! Our show today brought to you by Hipchat. We love We've been using Hipchat with our web design team. That's when I first discovered it, and I just think it's so cool. If you've got a team, sometimes geographically spread out, working at different times of the day, how do you communicate? Probably a lot of teams are cobbling together email, instant messaging, maybe some texting, some cloud storage. Maybe they're using Google Docs to share docs. Hipchat makes this so much easier. Puts everything in one place. Works with all the tools you're existing tools you're using, but it's designed specifically for business. So you get instant messenger, you get video chat, you get document sharing, you get screen sharing. So you talk to each other. You can update systems, you can share code all in one simple platform. Email, it's asynchronous, it's too slow. Meetings, they get sidetracked. They feel like a waste of time. Regular Instant Messenger is not designed for groups in the way that Hipchat is. It integrates with the top developer tools, GitHub, Jira, Zendesk, 57 services and all that Hipchat plays nice with. It's so cool. We use Hipchat. If you paste a link into the Hipchat, Linky generates renders a preview of it, and it's all sorts of cool stuff. Hipchat. I want you to try it. It's free. There's a freemium version you can use free forever, but we're going to give you the full version of Hipchat free for 30 days when you go to hipchat.com/techguy. You don't need to give them a credit card. It's just a 30-day trial. You'll get the video and screen sharing, all those bonus features. Sign up, click on Start Chatting, invite some team members, see how it works for your team. It works great for ours, so much so that once we experienced it with the web design, we got engineering on it, we're getting the show hosts on it, where sales is on it. Oh, by the way, if you're watching right now, don't delay. The first 100 people who respond to this offer will get 90 days instead of 30 days. So you get 3 months of Hipchat. Hipchat.com/techguy. Your team, your project, in sync, instantly. Hipchat. Thank you, Hipchat, for your support and for a great product, which we use every single day. I have Hipchat always running on my computer. It's a great way to stay in touch. Hipchat. 8888 ask Leo. That's the number. We were talking about replacing a Windows Home Server with something we call a NAS, a network attached storage. The idea is that you want some central storage that all the computers in your home can use. And it's really interesting the way we compute has changed so much over the years. For most of us, the first computer we had that was all by itself in the house, and if it connected to the internet, it probably did so on the phone, right? You take the phone, you put it on some cups, or maybe you actually connect directly to the phone and just hope that the kids didn't pick up while you were trying to download Doom. But nowadays, we're kind of out of our house. We're operating was essentially a small business with multiple computers, a router.
Right.
We might have multiple other devices, tablets and phones, all of which are connected to the internet. And having a central storage, just as you would in a business, makes a lot of sense. So the way a business would do it and the way many home people do it is with a central server. Windows Home Server was, I thought, a really great, accessible, easy-to-use way to do it. But without the dedicated hardware, now it's a little bit more work to do. And it's true that all the things that Windows Home Server did can probably be done in Windows 8. But let's do something a little bit better. So you mentioned Netgear, and I use Netgear ReadyNAS. I love them. I've loved them for a long time. I have ReadyNASs everywhere.
Are you there, Leo?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I wanted to just throw something out there. My household is mostly Apple products, iPads, iPhones, a couple of Macs. I have a Windows PC, and I do notice that the ReadyNAS has some extra things in it that benefit an Apple user or a Mac user.
All of these will use Apple's file protocols and will support Apple's. That nobody's going to make a NAS that doesn't. In fact, one of the benefits of a NAS is it's kind of agnostic. It doesn't care what kind of computers are attached to it. But the one I'm going to recommend, I think, is a little easier to use, a little more consumer friendly, a lot more like the old Windows Home Server stuff. Although all modern NASs run Linux. This is called the Synology, Synology.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
Yeah,
I looked at that one.
I think they're very easy to use. They will also support Macintoshes. The idea is you can use them for a variety of ways. You could do it as a centralized backup server because you could put multiple hard drives in one unit, so it has a lot of storage. It can also become a server for media, and all of them will support the iTunes protocol, so they look like an iTunes running. But they'll also... Yeah, they'll also support Windows Media. They'll support all the typical media services. Many of them will support Plex. And all of these they support with a plug-in. They're fairly easy to configure and install.
I would have remote access to that just as good as
absolutely the same.
Yeah.
Basically, these are headless computers. They don't have a keyboard, mouse, or monitor. They're just a box.
Right.
You put them in the closet because they tend to be noisy. Somewhere it has to be near the router because they have to get a wire from the router. And then you can talk to them from any computer via your browser.
Right. Yeah, no, I've got that part covered. No, I just wanted to get your advice on that.
Yeah, I like Synology, especially since you're moving from Windows Home Server. It's a logical step up that should be fairly easy for you to do. But ReadyNAS is fine, too. I've been using ReadyNASs for years.
Okay.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they're both equally good. There's pros and cons for each.
Okay.
Ease of use, Synology takes it all.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I appreciate it. And sometime I'm going to get over to your studio.
You're just down the road. You ought to. We go to Sonoma all the time. It's one of my favorite towns.
I'm glad you love it. I grew up there.
Yeah, it's so gorgeous, so beautiful. Best food. Oh my goodness. Good wine. We're happy to be part of in the Sonoma County with you. There are ways to do this Mac specific. You could run OS X server on a Mac Mini. You could buy, I don't recommend, but you could buy Apple's Time Capsule, which is in effect a centralized storage hard drive, but they're just not as flexible. In some ways, better to buy a non-Apple product that supports Apple because it's going to support a wide range of other things. Mac Mini's not a terrible way to go. That's another way you could do it. If you really like OS X, if you're an OS X fanatic, which it sounds like you are. Adrian in Jackson, Tennessee, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo, I appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you.
Well, I've got a major concern regarding the new FCC regulation with net neutrality, so to speak, that's being doing an end around Congress. And I just wanted to get your thoughts about the best ways for persons like myself or your listenership to take action on this and try and stop the regulation of the Internet. I know that there's 5 FCC commissioners, and I know one for sure has come out and spoken very adamantly against any of this regulation.
Right.
But with 5 commissioners, a lot of times you have like a swing vote. And
well, what's going to happen is it is proposed, of course, Tom Wheeler, the chairman of the FCC, has proposed that the FCC has been trying to find some way to protect the Internet with open Internet rules. The courts slapped them down the last time. Verizon sued them, and the courts said you can't without, you can't exceed, and this has always been the case for the FCC, you can't exceed the mandate Congress has sent you. But, the court said, Congress has given you a way to do this using the Telecommunications Act. And Title II of the Telecommunications Act, which allows the FCC to declare, and I think accurately, that internet service providers, broadband providers, are public utilities. They and can be regulated like a utility. They're common carriers. The phone companies, for instance, are regulated like common carriers and have the same rights and obligations of a common carrier. There is a lot of, I understand, especially from the right, there's real concern about government getting its heavy mitts into the internet. And I don't blame you for that concern. What Chairman Wheeler has proposed is that they adhere to something called a forbearance, that they not enforce the entire Title II provisions. For instance, Title II allows the internet, that allows the FCC to regulate rates. They don't want to regulate rates on internet service providers. Now, we all agree, right and left, we all agree the best way to get the best internet without having the heavy-handed intervention of the government or the anti-competitive intervention of companies like Verizon and Comcast. Believe me, they would love to have a monopoly on internet access and to control what you can see and to charge people for access to use. Believe me, they're not your friends either.
Right.
So what we need is some way to protect us from both, and the best way to do that is competition. But unfortunately, we don't in this country have a competitive environment. In fact, the way it is right now, 86% of us have only two choices for internet, the phone company and the cable company, both of which are predatory, in my opinion. So I understand the desire for, look, we need to protect the internet. It's in the interest of the United States that the internet be open and free, that private enterprise not be allowed to co-opt the internet for profit. No one wants heavy-handed government regulation either. I think what the FCC is doing is appropriate, but if you don't like it, you should email the commissioners. Those are the people who will be making the final decision. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Rush Limbaugh's scaring everybody on this matter, and he's just plumb, you know. I mean, this is how Rush Limbaugh gets ratings. Let's put it that way. But I don't fault his, you know, he said, hey, as soon as this happens, you're going to have a license to get on the internet. It's going to be like communist China. I mean, it's not, that's overstated. There is a risk, but I can tell you it would be the reason that they're doing this. Tom Wheeler is no friend of the public. Tom Wheeler is a former lobbyist for the cable companies and the phone companies, and he received an overwhelming amount, millions of comments from people who said, please protect our internet, open internet. And that's why he's proposed this Title II. People overwhelmingly asked him to do it. Those same people, I think if the government did start to do things like tax the internet, nobody's proposing this, or license the internet, nobody's proposing this. If they did start doing that, you'd get, holy hell would be raised. I don't think that's on the cards. And I think, unfortunately, in the long run, the internet is going to be regulated to the advantage of the people who pay politicians with campaign contributions. And nobody gives more money to politicians than the cable industry. So I'm amazed that there's even any thought of regulating and preventing the cable industry from being predatory. They are predatory. We know this. They are predatory. Just look at your cable bill. So I think it's actually how government's supposed to work, is to slow down the predatory practices of private enterprise. But remember, these guys have a lot of money. They can sway public opinion. They do everything they can to sway public opinion. There's a lot of smoke being put out.
Remember, only Nixon can go to China.
Right. Exactly. It's interesting, isn't it? So only Tom Wheeler perhaps can regulate the internet. Reginald's saying only Nixon could open the door to China. And I think that that's true. I think sometimes it's the guy who you least expect to do this is the one the only one who has the political will to do it. What would be best is competition, is what I started to say. But we just don't live in a competitive world yet. Now, what I would encourage, and the FCC says they're going to do this, is initiatives to encourage competition. For instance, one of the things the FCC has done, which is really right on, many state legislatures, over 30 I think, have banned municipal internet because cable companies and telephone companies go to them and say, we really don't think that the municipalities should be allowed to compete with us. Do you? No, I don't think so. And so they've made laws prohibiting competition. In towns like Chattanooga, where the municipal authorities have created an incredible internet infrastructure, gigabit internet, and then they encourage other companies to provide the access on top of it. It has worked immensely well. And, of course, Comcast and Verizon don't want that, and so they're saying, well, that's a terrible thing. They're putting us out of business. And so they're shutting it down. And so the FCC has said, no, we are going to make sure and reverse these state legislatures who are preventing municipal internet, because we believe competition, and even Rush Limbaugh must agree this, competition, free market is the way it should go. But Rush doesn't want a free market. Rush wants a free market that benefits Comcast and Verizon. That's all Rush wants. So that's the problem. I agree with people who are concerned about government intervention. I believe me, the government moves too slow to regulate the internet. But it's the best of our choices out there. It's Johnny Jet time. Johnny Jet was in the sky, but he has landed, and he is here an hour later to join us to talk about using tech to save on travel. Hi, Johnny.
Hello, Leo.
Where are you?
I'm back home in L.A. I just came in from the South Beach Wine and Food Festival. I was there with certified Angus beef, and so I ate so much beef that you have no idea.
Oh, what
but
a
life.
It
was unbelievable.
What a life.
I flew home this morning on a American Airlines 777-200, which does not have Wi-Fi. So I wasn't able to get any real work done.
How come I thought everybody was going to have Wi-Fi in the air by now.
Well, the 777-200 is an older plane. Their 300 series does have it, but it's international, and I don't even know how good that is. I haven't been on their international routes, and I haven't used the Wi-Fi. But I usually fly American just so I can be connected, because most of their planes do have it.
Aren't we getting a new, faster Wi-Fi? Isn't GoGo doing some sort of satellite-based thing?
They are doing.
Have you tried that yet?
I haven't tried the fast stuff. I haven't,
because the problem is when airplane Wi-Fi first came out, it was just a few of us geeks that were using it, and it was decent. Now everybody on the plane is streaming video.
Right.
And
especially out of San Francisco, it makes it difficult.
Yeah, if you're coming out of a tech hub,
I usually don't have a problem with GoGo. I know some people do. Only once in a while, we'll be going over some mountains or wherever they don't have a
it's worked fine for me.
Radar.
Yeah, I mean, I don't Skype it. I use it to check my email.
And they block all that too. They block the streaming.
Good.
I mean, there's ways around it,
Good.
but
I would love to get on one of these planes with the new the KU Wi-Fi or whatever that GoGo's doing. Let us know what it's like.
I will do that. Yeah. So, by the way, I'm speaking tomorrow at the LA Travel and Adventure Show. That's why I cut my trip to Miami short. So if any of your listeners are going to be down in Long Beach area, that's where I'll be.
Buy Johnny a steak. He's already going through withdrawal here.
Yeah. So I got a couple of websites for you. I got a website and their apps too. So
all right.
Since it's freezing cold back east in most of the country.
Yes.
And there's snow around, I have Liftopia. Have you ever heard of Liftopia?
Liftopia. No, what is that?
Liftopia.
Yeah.
So if you're a skier, this is a place you want to go, because they have discounted lift tickets all over the world. I mean, in North America alone, they have 250 resorts. So I just typed in, San Francisco. I typed in Lake Tahoe, Heavenly, to see their discounts for tomorrow. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can get a ticket tomorrow for $74. You save 23% just by going to a website in advance. So no matter where you're going, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My wife will not buy anything on the internet until she Googles, is there a coupon? It's kind of like this. Never pay full retail, because there's always a deal somewhere, or not always, but often.
Without a doubt. And that's why I'm a fan of these guys. And what I also like about it, let's say you are looking at Heavenly or whatever mountain you're looking at, you can click it and it will tell you how many trails are open, how many lifts are running, and it gives you all the ski reports and all information like that. And so I'm actually going to go skiing in a few weeks, I think, in Banff, Alberta.
Wow.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Liftopia. Do they have an app too?
They do. They have just for the iPhone.
All right. Okay. What else?
So here's one for people who want to stay on the ground. Have you heard of?
That's me, by the way.
You don't ski?
No.
Really?
No, I like
All
my
right.
knees too much.
I got you. How about Hopstop? HOPSTOP.
Uh-huh.
Have you heard of this one?
Now, am I going to get hoppy beers here?
No. They've been around for a while, and I use it. I specifically use it for New York City.
Oh, it's a transit map.
But they have it in 300 different cities around the world, in 10 different languages, it looks like. Actually, maybe even more languages. That's old information in my notes.
I don't understand. What does it do?
So let's say put in transit directions.
Okay.
So I used to live on 79th Street in New York, 79th and Lex. So you could, and then you could put in Times Square to where you're going. And then you can choose how you want to get there. Actually, just click search. Just click search and it will get directions.
Yeah. Okay.
And it will show you exactly how far you're going to have to walk, how long it's going to take. To the
You know what
T.
this reminds me of is, was it City Mapper? We used this in London. It was a great app that you would put in where you want to go, and it would tell you the 3 different ways you could go: mass transit, underground or bus or walk. It was a really useful tool. This looks kind of similar to that.
Yeah, it's been around. I love it, especially for New York. I use it, and they have an app for both the iPhone and the Android, I believe. Let me just double check again because I didn't have Wi-Fi on the plane.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, it looks like it's just iPhone actually.
Yeah. All right.
But
Hopstop and Google Maps has transit sometimes too, but this looks like it has kind of more options and so forth. There's 2 ways you can go, and
it's been around for
how long it'll take via taxi, how much it'll cost. And so it would take 49 minutes to walk. Or you could take a taxi, which take 13 minutes, but it costs you $13. Or you could take this number 6, and it would get you there in 22 minutes for $2.50.
Exactly. Well, the 6 train I used to take all the time, and I actually took it a couple weeks ago, and I used this.
The 6 train.
So,
but you'd have to transfer to the S train.
That's the subway that goes from Grand Central to Times Square. It's a free transfer. And actually, a lot of people don't realize when they go to New York City that you can get a free transfer. So, when I land at LaGuardia, I'll jump on the M60 bus and take it to 125th Street, jump on the subway for a free transfer, and go into Midtown Manhattan. And so it'll cost me $2.50 for that whole trip.
Wow.
You can't beat that.
No.
You just have to have, you can't carry a lot of luggage, which, you can have a regular bag, but you don't want to be, like my wife used to pack.
You've trained her, huh?
She learned. I mean, she realized the benefits of not having a bag. You can change flights. If there's a delay, you can take public transportation. You don't have to pay for baggage fees. There's a lot of benefits.
What's your go-to carry-on these days?
I have a Roots duffel bag, and I have a Briggs & Riley roller.
I love my Briggs & Riley roller. I got to get a new one, though, because it's a 2-wheel, so you tilt it, and everybody now has the 4-wheel.
My wife's a 4-wheeler, but
I love that.
What I like about Briggs & Riley is that I'm very rough on these bags. I pull them, I drop them everywhere, and it doesn't break.
Yeah. It's so funny because I didn't consult you, and I don't remember how I found out about Briggs & Riley, but I did, and now I'm a devoted Briggs & Riley fan. They're great carry-ons.
They are.
Yeah.
They're
But I have
solid.
to upgrade to the 4-wheeler, the woobly one, because then you can.
Actually, I do
slalom.
have one of their 4-wheelers, but it's a bigger bag. It's not a carry-on.
All my bags have 4 wheels now. That is the biggest. I don't know why it took us so long to figure out that it's better to have 4 wheels than 2 wheels on luggage. I don't know why.
I wish I had the patent on wheeled luggage.
Do you think somebody does?
Yeah, they did.
Wow. There's some
Actually,
there's some
can't
money.
remember who. I think it might have been the guy from Briggs & Riley.
Oh, Mr. Briggs, he's living in the Maldives now.
I'm not sure on that, but
all right.
Or they bought it. I don't remember.
Johnny Jet, he's still a working stiff. He works hard to give you the latest on technology and travel, give you great travel deals, too, at his website, johnnyjet.com. Sign up for that free newsletter. You can also find him on Twitter at JohnnyJet, Instagram, Johnny Jet. Are you doing Facebook and Johnny Jet and all that?
Of course. I got 2 Facebook pages. I now have Flipagram, which I will talk about next week.
Flipagram.
Yeah, I'll use that for next week. I love it for travelers.
Nice. All right. Thank you, Johnny.
All right. Take care.
Safe travels. Where are you going next? Are you going to do the Travel Expo tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yep.
And then
My dad's flying out tonight if he makes it out from New York because there's a big snowstorm.
Do not go to New York right now. Get your dad out of there. He could freeze.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to do.
It is so cold. Coldest day on record.
I just cashed in some miles. Business class ticket tonight. He's going to be chilling.
All right. Well, we're going to go to New York next because we're going to say hi to the Gizwiz. Thank you, Johnny. Leo Laporte.
Thank you.
Tech guy. All right. Safe travels, my friend.
Thank you. Too.
Is it called City Mapper? What is the name of that? It was a great app.
I think I had that app. Let me just double
for
check.
For London Transit. We used it
I just downloaded the Tube map.
What was the name of it? It was so good.
My maps.
Oh, well.
City Maps to go.
City Maps. Was that it? All right. There was one that was so great. Everybody told us to use it. It had a green icon. You know, I don't think I have it on any of my phones.
So I got a question for you about the iPhone. Someone says if you turn it into airplane mode, it will charge 3 times quicker.
I don't know. True? 3 times is awfully fast. It will charge fast. The less you're doing with it, the faster it will charge.
That's the only thing I don't like about it so far is that the battery just goes so much quicker. And I close the apps.
Nah, it's, do you have a 6 or 6 Plus?
I got the 6 Plus. I got the big one, baby.
That thing is famous for going all day. No?
Not for me.
Huh. Take Facebook off of it.
Really?
Well, one thing you could do with Facebook is say, what I do is I go through all the apps and say, don't update automatically. Just update when I open you up.
Okay, I'll do that.
That's the first thing to do.
Let's see.
City Mapper.
All right.
That's it. City Mapper is the one I was thinking of.
All right, I'll download
Try
that
City
one.
Mapper. It's awesome.
All right.
Awesome. It was so great for London. And it's not just London. It's a number of cities. I think they have New York. They have San Francisco, I'm pretty sure. Everybody, bang a gong. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, yeah. Actually, I know where that's coming from, Nathan Staten. That's my Sky Mall gong. I should get that and bang it. Dick DeBartolo is here. Remember that gong, Dick?
Absolutely.
Mad Magazine's
it's
maddest
still
writer.
Reverberating.
Conk.
Yeah.
Oh,
clunk.
I'm glad they went out of business. I must have spent $1,000 there. More.
Well, that's what, when we stopped doing that spot, that was downhill from there for them.
We put them out of business.
Absolutely.
I was single-handedly keeping Sky Mall afloat.
I think what put them out of business is showing what you can buy on Sky Mall. People say, wait, that's what I get?
Dick DeBartolo is here, Mad Magazine's maddest writer. Yeah, that's where you've heard the name. He's a part of that cast of idiots, the usual cast of idiots. He's also a gadget hound, and he joins us every week to talk about his favorite gadgets. Hello, Dickie D.
How are you, pal?
I am great. How are you?
I'm good.
What do you got for us? By the way,
Fair.
is that a parrot over your shoulder?
Yes.
You look a little like a pirate.
Yeah.
All you need is an eye patch and a hook.
Yeah.
It's not a live parrot. Is it a pinata?
No. We were talking about parrots last week on Gizwiz, and Josh has a parrot, and I said, wait a minute, I have a parrot too. So I put him up there, and I just left him up
Apparently.
there. Apparently. Oh, that's very good. That's very good.
So what do you got for us?
I have an update on a gadget that I hear you love. Now, evidently at the Brick House, you have the Anki Drive car racing set.
I love it.
Well, get ready.
I gave it to my son for Christmas, and he didn't want it, so I kept it.
Okay. Well, at Toy Fair, the company, did you know that car set was the second largest selling toy on Amazon this past Christmas?
Wow. So let me explain. These cars have artificial intelligence. They're little slot car style cars, but the track has no slots. They use optics. They can see each other. They can sense each other. They are controlled via Bluetooth from your phone. And they're smart, and you could play games. You can shoot at each other. You could skid out. It's really it's like a slot car game without the slot.
Exactly. So now, since this was such a mega hit in September, and they were previewing this at Toy Fair, they're coming out with Anki Overdrive.
Oh, boy.
where now you get modular track that's magnetically connected so that you can build any sort of a racetrack that you want to build instead of just being forced into kind of the oval track that they had.
Yeah, that was the bad thing about Anki's. It's just flat. It's like on the floor. It's just flat.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you can build loops. You can build ramps. And also in the new app, there are all sorts of evil characters, and it tells you what the characters like to do, what their personalities are, and you can, through Bluetooth, send those characters and personalities to each of the cars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, I got to say, these were never cheap. These are expensive.
Exactly. So the new set actually is going to be the same price as the old set, which is $140.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Basically $150.
I can't upgrade my existing set.
You know what? The new app will do some of the stuff that
you mean I have to buy all new cars, all new tracks.
I'm not sure about that.
I bet I do. Of course, I do.
It could, yeah, but you love that.
Yeah, see, they have new names.
I'm giving you an excuse.
Yeah. Oh boy, it was like $400 for the whole thing. Was not.
Well, wait a minute. Well, you must have bought the deluxe kit.
What I did is I bought the track, and you get 2 cars with that, and then I bought 2 more cars.
Oh, okay. So now
4 cars.
The track, 10 pieces of modular track, 2 cars, a 4-car charger is $149.99.
Oh, that's not as bad. Okay,
it's not so bad. But you're right. I think the cars are like $50 each for each additional car.
Yeah.
But you can do some fun stuff.
And by the way, I should point out, starter track. It doesn't sound like you're going to be like leaping in the air and going all over the room. That's
10. They're fairly long each section.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. But you're right. The artificial intelligence is kind of funny because even if you're playing alone, you know that the cars are plotting against you, even though you own them. They are plotting against you.
I thought this was a lot of fun. I was a little disappointed that my son, who's college age, did not get into this. But hey, I get to keep it, so that's okay.
Yeah. What's better than that? You get credit for a gift and you get the gift back. It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I got credit. Okay. Dad, I don't want this.
I'm giving you credit.
What's wrong with kids today? I tell you. All right, Anki. A is spelled A-N-K-I. You go to anki.com and you can find out about the existing Anki product. I got to say, I worry that that's going to slow sales down to the current one because it's September. They're coming out with a new one.
With the new one, September 15th.
Yeah. It is fun, though. We have a lot of fun with it. Thank you, Mr. Dickie D. Dick DeBartolo. His website is gizwiz.biz. You can find out more about the Ankis and all the products he mentions, not just on this show, but he's on World News Now on ABC. It's on a ton of stuff. Not gizwiz.com, it's gizwiz.biz. It had to be different. Had to do something different. If you're there, besides looking at all, was Toy Fair fun? Did you have a good time?
Toy Fair was great fun. What's fun about Toy Fair is it's not the same thing on every booth. It's not earphones and earphones and earphones and a lot of
it's
really
more creative, I would guess, right?
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot of YouTube videos you can see of Dick at Toy Fair showing some of the toys there and stuff. He's like a kid in a candy store at Toy Fair. It's always the best show of the year for Dick DeBartolo. While you're at the website, though, may I point out that he also has a great What the Heck Is It contest, which is a chance for you to win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. We're getting, I think, close to the end of this one, right?
Yeah, another, what are we, at 21?
Yeah, 7 days, one more week. And, and it will be revealed what this strange doodad is. Now, he's got 12 autographed Mad magazines for people who get it right, 24 for people who get it wrong, but get it wrong in a clever fashion. Not too late to play. Gizwiz.biz, all the rules are there, and you'll be playing for the Star Wars episode of Mad Magazine.
Yes.
But you got only until the midnight on the 28th Eastern time. Hey, thanks, Dickie D.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Well, let's stick around. We're going to do the Giz Fizz right after this, right?
Excellent. We are.
Yes. He does a little show on our podcast network right after the radio show ends. I think I can get one more call in before we wrap this up. We'll start with Mike in Denver, Colorado. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Leo. How's it going?
It's going great. What can I do for you?
I'm going to redo my iPod. and I want to put the music in so I get the best audio quality going through my 2-driver molded earplugs.
Awesome.
So I want to know what's the highest rating I can get on my iPod.
You can, if you're going to play. So Apple normally in iTunes uses AAC compression. That's the successor to MP3, to Fraunhofer's MP3. It gives you better quality just by virtue of being a better codec. But then you can also go all the way up to 320 kilobits per second. That's the highest bandwidth. That'll give you the best. But iPods, I believe, also support AIFF, which is an uncompressed. That would be even better quality. I don't know. I don't think they support ALAC. They might. That's the Apple lossless codec. That's the they do support that. All right. That's the highest quality you can get. It's the same quality as uncompressed AIFF, but it is compressed about 2 to 1. So it does save some space, which is always a problem on an iPod. With you fill it up pretty easily. So I would suggest.
Take 1,000 songs on 160 gigs, so that's not a problem.
Oh, that's plenty of space. Yeah. So if you, but now the problem is you don't want to convert an AAC song to ALAC. That's not going to gain you anything. So what you want to do is start with an uncompressed original, a CD.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Good. So when you rip the CDs,
iTunes and start from scratch.
Good.
Second question is, what's better, to go 32 gig or 64 for downloading this?
32.
I mean, bit.
You're going to do ALAC, which will not change. Oh, you mean from downloading from the internet? You want to get high-res files?
No, from downloading on my CDs.
Oh, yeah, just rip them.
Computer.
So go into iTunes, and you can set the options for importing. Set it to ALAC. There won't be any choice after that.
But what I'm saying is there's a 64 and a 32-bit download from iPod. Which is there a difference between the two? I mean, will it really make that much difference?
I don't know what you're talking about. Download from iPod. You're going to be taking a CD, right? Sticking it in the computer and ripping it.
Right, and you can rip it onto iPod at 32-bit computer or a 64-bit computer.
Oh no, that doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
Yep. Just do it ALAC, Apple lossless. That'll give you the highest quality and will allow you to play it on an iPod. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I think he's talking about software. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the Twit Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.